Chapter 282. It was understandable that Lu Qingyue was already a rank 2 alchemist at her age. It turned out that she has a rank 4 alchemist as a master. Azure Water School's special enrollment student, rank 2 alchemist as well as the vice principal's disciple. With all these identities, it was no wonder Lu Qingyue's prestige in the Azure Water School was so high and many people saw her as the goddess in their hearts. Huan Chuyo's eyes fell on Zhan Yunfeng. You said Cui Haoyan was attacked by a poisonous python? What did that poisonous python look like? It was exactly the case that he didn't know what demonic beast the toxin came from. Once known, he'd be able to prescribe the appropriate medicine. After all, the detoxification pill was not an all-purpose cure. Targeted medicinal pills are much more effective. That poisonous python was about 20 meters long, as thick as a basin, and body covered in green scales, Zhan Yunfeng quickly explained. Lulin python. Huan Chuyo's eyes narrowed. He didn't expect it to be the Lulin python. Bailey Hongzhuang also immediately recognized the demonic beast Zhan Yunfeng described. Lulin python, a demonic beast with monstrous strength and highly toxic poison. The Lulin python lived in the Luoyun mountain range. Usually, with where they were, they shouldn't have been able to come in contact with the Lulin python. This time, because of the demonic beast tide, the demonic beast came out in full force, and so Cui Haoyan and the others ended up encountering it. The Lulin python's poison was strong and tyrannical. The usual method wouldn't be able to detoxify it at all. Huan Chuyu faintly sighed. His wise and affable face stricken with helplessness and deep regret. Although he was a rank 4 alchemist, the pill formulas he had on hand were limited. In ancient times, alchemy was very prosperous and various pill formulas and medicinal pills would emerge quickly and endlessly. Detoxifying the Lulin python's poison was also not impossible. Now, however, the pill formula that could have been used for treatment had already disappeared. Even he was at wit's end. Looking at Huan Chuyo's expression, everyone's heart skipped a beat. Zhan Yunfeng was even more unwilling to wipe the tears from his eyes. His demeanor was extremely tense. Vice Principal Cui Haoyan, can he still be saved? I can only try my best, but the chances aren't high. Zhan Yunfeng paled. Even the rank 4 alchemist vice principal said the chances weren't high. Then didn't that mean? Thinking of this, tears poured from Zhan Yunfeng's eyes. Vice Principal, is there no other way? Gong Shaoqing asked. Unless we can find a rank 5 alchemist or a doctor who knows the vibrating needle technique. Hearing this, everyone's heart sank. It was widely known that the person with the strongest alchemy skills is the vice president. Where would they go and find a rank 5 alchemist? As for a doctor knowing the vibrating needle technique. Now even doctors that know basic acupuncture are quickly disappearing, not to mention the vibrating needle technique. Of these two methods, none were feasible and were equivalent to having no solutions at all. Then what can we do? Zhan Yunfeng choked up, bursting into tears. Xia Jiqing curiously looked at Zhan Yunfeng. Does this Zhan Yunfeng like Cui Haoyan? Dong Fangyu slightly nodded, looking helpless and grief-stricken. Zhan Yunfeng has always adored Cui Haoyan. However, he usually doesn't show it much. Now, I'm afraid there's no hope of showing it. Ah, Xia Jiqing was surprised for a moment. She had only suspected but didn't think it would turn out to be true. So pitiful. The Luoyun mountain range was so full of danger. It really makes people sigh in sorrow. It was at this time, when everyone fell into despair, that Bailey Hongzhuang slowly walked up to Cui Haoyan. A trace of surprise crossed Huan Chuyo's calm and carefree eyes. What does this little girl want to do standing out now? I'll try. Python is probably used because of the sheer size of the demonic beast. Its characteristics are more like a viper. Pythons are more constricting you to death, while some viper species are known to cause necrosis. Alert. Do not Google this as you have a weak stomach. Adelicia. Chapter 283. Her beautiful and delicate face was brimming with self-confidence and assurance. Although her current cultivation was nothing to talk about, she has absolute confidence in her medical skills. She and Cui Haoyan aren't close. In fact, he looked down on her, although not maliciously. Since everyone was from the same class and Cui Haoyan was also good friends with Dong Fangyu and the others, she couldn't sit still and do nothing. Following Bailey Hongzhuang's words, everyone's eyes landed on her. The room was suddenly so quiet you could hear a pin drop. If the vice principal wasn't here, they really want to ask Bailey Hongzhuang if she was joking. Gong Shaoqing, Lu Qingyue, Dong Fangyu and Xia Jiqing were dumbfounded as they looked at her. They had some doubts about what they just heard. From their understanding of Bailey Hongzhuang, she wouldn't say anything without thought. However, believing that Bailey Hongzhuang had a method for detoxification was really hard. Huan Chuyu curiously sized up the little girl in front of him. She just stood there without saying a word but was still radiant. It was impossible to ignore her. Right now, in front of him, she said such incredible words and yet still maintains an indifferent expression. Her face shined dazzlingly, looking self-confident and assured. This was a look full of confidence and strength. You have a way to detoxify Cui Haoyan? Huan Chuyu's eyes gleamed with kindness and wisdom. He had a feeling the little girl wasn't just giving lip service. Seeing that Huan Chuyu had such a good attitude towards Bailey Hongzhuang, jealously lit up in many people's eyes. In the Azure Water School, if you could get the recognition of the principal or vice principal, you'd be able to reach the heavens in one step. For the sake of attracting the attention of the vice principal, this Bailey Hongzhuang is really daring. What's the use of attracting it now? If she isn't able to treat Cui Haoyan's poison, isn't that equivalent to giving yourself a slap in the face? Zhang Yunfeng's eyes flashed with bewilderment. Bailey Hongzhuang, it's the moment of life or death for Cui Haoyan. It's not an opportunity for you to show off. Cui Haoyan's condition is so serious that he won't be able to hang on for much longer. To delay the vice principal from looking for a treatment, Bailey Hongzhuang is really detestable. In Zhang Yunfeng's heart, there was no belief that Bailey Hongzhuang, who was so young, would be able to cure Cui Haoyan at all at rank 5 alchemist? It's simply impossible for Bailey Hongzhuang. Vibrating needle technique? That's even more impossible for Bailey Hongzhuang. Since it's not either one, wasn't she just grandstanding right now? Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at Zhang Yunfeng with indifference, not caring. She just looked towards Huan Chuyu. I have a way. Then you try, Huan Chuyu said kindly. He is actually curious of what kind of trump card this little girl has to make her so confident. Is it possible that she has a rank 5 alchemist at her call? To Huan Chuyu, this possibility felt the most likely. Vice Principal, Zhang Yunfeng wanted to put a stop to it. She really didn't understand what the Vice Principal was thinking. Bailey Hongzhuang making trouble could be dismissed, but for the Vice Principal to even agree? Huan Chuyu slightly lifted his right hand, stopping Zhang Yunfeng from talking. With eyes that were as soft as water revealed a look of doubt and surprise, Lu Qinghua secretly criticized. Master, what is this? Bailey Hongzhuang moved to Cui Haoyan's side and thoroughly observed his condition, leaving behind all distracting thoughts and becoming very serious. Cui Haoyan had been wounded for quite some time and was hanging on to live by using medicinal pills. By now the toxin had already permeated through more than half his body. If the poison isn't detoxified by today, he won't have a chance of survival. With her right hand covering Cui Haoyan's, Bailey Hongzhuang quietly took his pulse. She had to clearly understand the extent of the injury before being able to start treatment. Chapter 284. Lin Jiesin had a ridiculing smile on her face. Bailey Hongzhuang is quite good at pretending. I want to see how she'll continue this play. A burst of silence fell over everyone. It was obvious that only a master would be able to treat Cui Haoyan's condition. Bailey Hongzhuang is honestly a far cry from one, and so there is no way they'd be convinced. After a moment, Bailey Hongzhuang released her hand. With a flip of her hand, she retrieved a needle box from within her yin-yang pouch and spread it open on the bed. Silver needles of various sizes appeared in everyone's vision. A look of surprise crossed their faces. They didn't think that Bailey Hongzhuang really carried a needle box. Bailey Hongzhuang faintly shot a glance at Lin Jiesin. She didn't recognize this woman. However, ever since she appeared, loathing and hostility flowed from this woman's eyes. Feeling Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes on her, Lin Jiesin stiffened. She didn't get her composure back until Bailey Hongzhuang turned her eyes away. She thought in her heart, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes are really sharp. It was as if she saw through her in a single instant. She was surprised for a moment before her eyes were once again filled with loathing. She already heard from Lu Jingquan that Bailey Hongzhuang dared to kill Yunyang's little sister. Was really hateful. Girl, you know the art of acupuncture? Huan Chuyu's profound eyes revealed a trace of wonder. This was the only explanation as to why Bailey Hongzhuang carries a needle box with her. To his knowledge, those who have mastered the art of acupuncture are rare. Let alone that Bailey Hongzhuang was also so young. Whether it's medical skills of alchemy skills, you would need many years of hard training. Without a rich foundation as well as a solid understanding of medical knowledge, it would be impossible to master. Bailey Hongzhuang was very young. She probably hasn't been able to learn much. Bailey Hongzhuang slightly nodded, confirming Huan Chuyu's words. The poison Cui Haoyan was infected with was extremely potent and strong. It would be a bit lacking if you just rely on acupuncture. Huan Chuyo's gaze fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. His words were a warning to her. Rest assured, Vice Principal, I have it under control. Bailey Hongzhuang had an indifferent look on her face. Huan Chuyo's words did not cause her even a slight bit of nervousness. She had encountered a Lulan python before and even specifically extracted its poison. Of course, it was no problem for her to detoxify the poison. Ling Jinxin's eyes held contempt. She didn't think this Bailey Hongzhuang would be so arrogant, behaving so impudently right in front of the Vice Principal's face. Bailey Hongzhuang, it can't be that you're telling us that you know acupuncture, right? Ling Jianxin sneered. Do you think all of us are idiots? Bailey Hongzhuang slightly lifted her eyebrow. Her gaze sharp as she looked directly at Ling Jiesin. Even though she didn't know why this girl was hostile towards her, since it is someone who hates her then they are enemies. You should stop blowing your own trumpet. With so many people present, only an idiot like you would keep blindly barking. Her indifferent words chilled one to the bones with their disdain and intolerance. It was as though speaking another word to Ling Jiesin would be a waste of time. Dongfang, you couldn't help but start laughing. The others also couldn't refrain from laughing, lips twitching uncontrollably. When Bailey Hongzhuang said to stop blowing your trumpet, they still didn't quite understand. So Bailey Hongzhuang was saying that it was fine if Ling Jiesin wants to be an idiot by herself, but she actually wanted to drag the rest of them along with her. Xia Jiqing's face was filled with laughter. She always saw Bailey Hongzhuang with a coolly indifferent expression on her face. Who knew that once she starts talking, her words would be so poisonous? Chapter 285. Ling Jiesin's face contorted. She didn't expect Bailey Hongzhuang to actually have the gall to curse at her so bluntly. She didn't even give the Vice Principal any face. Don't be too excessive. Ling Jiesin said with a sullen expression. She couldn't afford to lose her face in front of all these people, who all had some status within the Azure Swelling Water School. Cui Haoyan is your senior. Life is precious, yet you treat Cui Haoyan's life according to your own selfish desires. Are you still human? Ling Jiesin wasn't stupid. With just a few words, Bailey Hongzhuang had gotten the others to separate from her. At least Zhang Yunfeng stood by her side. Sure enough, Zhang Yunfeng's body began trembling, as her eyes seethed with rage. I am selfish? The black as ink phoenix eyes mocked the hateful light. How am I selfish? I don't understand. You've decided to cause a scene after becoming unable to impress the Vice Principal? I've already seen through this kind of underhanded trickery. Ling Jiesin had an aloof appearance as she raised her chin while paying attention to Huan Chuyu, taking care to make herself look as if she were full of grace and wisdom. Such foolishness. You really don't know about yourself, this is quite worrisome. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head, pretending to be lamenting. In her mind, however, she was completely ridiculing her. What are you talking about? Ling Jiesin was startled. Her mind still didn't understand. Bailey Hongzhuang was clearly in the disadvantageous position, but why did she still look so proud? No matter how much she thought, she still couldn't find a problem with her words. Our Vice Principal is wise. If I was just trying to make things complicated, wouldn't he easily see through it? Her beautiful face was filled with mockery. Maybe you would do such a disgraceful thing, but I wouldn't. Her voice was filled with contempt, confident and decisive. Bailey Hongzhuang's face was cold as she spoke, every word spoken like a statement, leaving no room for debate. Ling Jiesin's face changed. She opened her mouth in protest but couldn't find anything to say. Because if she said Bailey Hongzhuang's words were wrong, it'd be the same thing as saying the Vice Principal was dumb. Gong Shaoqing's face changed a little. They really hadn't believed in Bailey Hongzhuang's medicinal skills, but after hearing her argument they were reassured. If Bailey Hongzhuang didn't have the skills, she wouldn't put up such a strong fight. Ling Jiesin couldn't talk back. She simply had no way to refute Bailey Hongzhuang. If she said Bailey Hongzhuang was wrong, it was no different from saying that the Vice Principal wasn't wise enough. Thinking up to here, Ling Jiesin could only stare at Bailey Hongzhuang hatefully. She actually never thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would have such a good mouth. Yu Huan Chuyu looked at the two glaring at each other and didn't speak. As a vice principal, he had seen many students like that, but this Bailey Hongzhuang seemed very confident in her skills. There were some geniuses in the world that simply couldn't be thought of with common sense, young talents reaching heights others would never even dream of. Maybe this girl was such a person. The originally condemning Zhao Yunfeng no longer spoke. The vice principal's silence meant he made a decision. Bailey Honghong took out her silver needles from her wrap, accurately pricking Cui Haoyin's acupuncture point. Everybody's heart jumped. Bailey Honghong was only 15 years old, so her medical expertise was truly shocking. Chapter 286. If Xiao Zifan and the others were here, then they wouldn't worry. Bailey Hongzhuang's fame as a genius doctor had already spread throughout the imperial city. It need not to be said that her medical skills were high. One after the other, silver needles were inserted in Cui Haoyin's body. As Bailey Hongzhuang was doing the treatment so seriously, doing every action in one go, everyone suddenly felt that it was like she did have medical skills. When Bailey Hongzhuang inserted the first needle, a gleam passed through Huan Chuyo's eyes. This girl's medical skills were definitely not simple. He had seen a physician who mastered acupuncture before. This physician had introduced a few specifics of inserting needles. Fast, stable, accurate, steady hands without a trace of shaking, and the patient would not reveal even the slightest bit of discomfort. Bailey Hongzhuang obviously hit all these points. Even though he didn't really understand medicine, he could generally determine that there were no problems with the acupuncture points she used in the treatment. Before long, Cui Haoyin's body was covered with a mass of silver needles. At first glance, it would make people's scalps tingle. The next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang slightly flicked her right hand above the silver needles. Like magic, all the silver needles began to vibrate in an orderly fashion. Lu Qinyue's calm eyes were filled with astonishment. Vibrating needle technique. She had never seen the true vibrating needle technique before, but have heard her master talk about the vibrating needle technique's characteristics. Thus she recognized it the moment she saw it. The sureness of Lu Qinyue's words caused a stormy feeling to rise in everyone's heart. Vibrating needle technique. Unexpectedly, it was actually the vibrating needle technique. Wasn't it said that the vibrating needle technique had been long lost? And which acupuncture master wasn't an adult who is getting on in their years? Bailey Hongzhuang is but 15 years old, yet mastered the highest level vibrating needle technique. How is this possible? Everyone's lips couldn't help but twitch. Bailey Hongzhuang was really abnormal. Xia Jiqing widened her eyes. Aside from amazement, there was joy on her face. Hongzhuang is nothing less than a god. I really admire her. Bailey Hongzhuang mastered the vibrating needle technique. Doesn't that signify that the poison that stumped even the vice president is solved by Bailey Hongzhuang? Dong Fengyu's shiningly handsome face revealed surprise and marvel. Ever since knowing Bailey Hongzhuang, he felt that she was very different. However, he never thought she would be this incredible. Zhang Yunfeng's face was full of surprise. Looking at that serious figure, a trace of guilt emerged in her heart. All along, Bailey Hongzhuang really wanted to help Cui Haoyin out of the goodness from her heart. She was ashamed of her own attitude. Ling Jessen's lips looked as if an egg was stuffed into it. She had this expression ever since the moment Bailey Hongzhuang applied the needles. Originally, she wanted to wait for a chance to ridicule Bailey Hongzhuang, making her understand the consequence of overestimating her own abilities. But now, a bad feeling had already crept up on her. A gleam flashed through Huan Chuyo's eyes. It seems that his eyes did not deceive him. Bailey Hongzhuang was really a talented person. The long-lost vibrating needle technique actually appeared in the hands of a teenage girl. It looks like this Bailey Hongzhuang's master must be a terrifying physician. Before, he didn't know that the Azure Water School had such a talented little physician. The Azure Water School was really full of unnoticeable masters. Everyone held their breath. No one dared to disturb Bailey Hongzhuang for fear of affecting her treatment. Everyone clearly saw that following the vibrations of the silver needles, the black portions on Cui Haoyin's body quickly converged towards his left wrist. This black color was very frightening. In an instant, Cui Haoyin's left hand was entirely covered in a frightening deep black that it caused people's hearts to go cold. Chapter 287. Seeing this, an astonished light flashed through Huan Chuyo's eyes. Bailey Hongzhuang really got rid of the poison. The green python's poison was scary because it would infect the body very quickly and was very hard to cure. Bailey Hongzhuang used acupuncture to remove all the poison and gathered all of it together. In this way she solved the biggest problem. Cui Haoyin was basically saved. At this time, Bailey Hongzhuang turned her head towards Huan Chuyu, who stood beside her. Vice Principal, do you have a blood-replenishing pill? Cui Haoyin was already very weak. There was a lot of blood that was contaminated with the poison. Once all of it was removed, Cui Haoyin would lose a lot of blood and would face another life-threatening crisis. Yes, I can handle this part. Huan Chuyu looked very focused. This time, there were many people who were injured outside and had lost a lot of blood, so he had refined many blood-replenishing pills. Bailey Hongzhuang lightly nodded her head. The trembling of the silver needles became faster and the poison in Cui Haoyan's left hand became darker and darker. It was as if there was an earthworm in him that would not stop moving, making everybody's hearts go cold. Just as the silver needles stopped trembling, Bailey Hongzhuang took a sharp knife and cut open Cui Haoyan's wrist. The black blood flowed out from his wrist continuously, and Cui Haoyan's body also slightly twitched. The poisonous blood made small sounds when it made contact with the iron basin. However, even though not all of the poisonous blood had flowed out yet, the iron basin was already completely corroded through by the poison. Seeing this, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. They all knew that Cui Haoyan was poisoned with a very powerful and dangerous poison, but they did not think that the poison was this deadly. No wonder there were rotting wounds all over Cui Haoyan's body. Once the poisonous blood made contact with the floor, it started to corrode the floor. White bubbles kept on appearing, making people's backs go cold. As the poisonous blood left his body, Cui Haoyan's face was no longer as purple-black, but rather, it became as white as a sheet of paper. Just as all the poisonous blood was removed, Huan Chuyu put 2 blood-replenishing pills into Cui Haoyan's mouth. Bailey Hongzhuang began to wrap up the cut on Cui Haoyan's wrist. Her actions were very smooth and skilled, and she was very careful and concentrated. It's good now. Bailey Hongzhuang stood up, looking at Huan Chuyu. All the poison has been removed. You can take care of the rest. Cui Haoyan's injuries were very serious. She could only help him remove the poison. If he was to recover at the fastest speed possible, he would need lots of well-refined pills. Even though she could completely cure him, she would have to use more time than Huan Chuyu. Huan Chuyu looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with admiration. You're also tired. Go rest. Only now did the crowd realize that Bailey Hongzhuang's forehead was covered with beads of sweat, and her beautifully exquisite face was also pale as snow. Clearly, this medical treatment was not as easy as they all had thought. Bailey Hongzhuang's burden was not small. The corner of Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled up in a beautiful smile. Many thanks for Vice Principal's care. In Huan Chuyu's eyes, other than admiration, there was only praise. This little girl would definitely be powerful in the future. If one wanted to achieve such achievements at such an age, even if the master was extremely strong, if one did not put in effort, then there would still be no use. He simply did not think that Bailey Hongzhuang's actions were made to get his attention. He believed that Bailey Hongzhuang's master would definitely not lose out against him when it came to skills. How could someone weaker than him produce disciples like this? Chapter 288. At this moment, a small moan attracted everybody's attention. The originally unconscious Cui Haoyan suddenly opened his eyes. Although his face still looked very sick, he was definitely much better than before. Cui Haoyan saw everybody staring at him before smiling in relief. He hadn't lost his life on Luo Yun Mountain and finally returned to Azure Water School. Zhang Yunfeng immediately ran to Cui Haoyan. Are you okay? Cui Haoyan shook his head slightly. It's tolerable. Right now he only felt a bit weak. It was far better compared to the sharp pain he had felt earlier. Far better. Zhang Yunfeng couldn't help but tear up, the depths of her eyes filled with love. Cui Haoyan's life was finally saved. Cui Haoyan frowned slightly, looking at Zhang Yunfeng tenderly. I'm still not dead, so why are you crying? Sob, you were so close, so close. Zhang Yunfeng's tense mind finally collapsed as she cried, unable to stop her tears. Just a little bit and she wouldn't have been able to see Cui Haoyan ever again. The original solemn mood relaxed. Cui Haoyan and Bai Junyu's lives were no longer in danger. This was already extremely lucky. Bailey Hongzhuang walked beside Xia Jiqing, who emotionally pulled on her hand. Hongzhuang, you're amazing. Actually knowing that long-lost acupuncture technique. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. Even 1,000 years ago, her Bailey family was known for their acupuncture techniques in Guangzhou continent. It was just too bad that she could never see those doting old elders again. The wall between Zhang Yunfeng and Cui Haoyan can finally be considered to be broken. Bailey Hongzhuang twinkled with a warm smile. Love will find a way and eventually, everyone will be happy. Dong Fangyu stared at Bailey Hongzhuang's jade-like face, his eyes growing increasingly soft. All thanks to you. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. Her job was already over, so after saying goodbye to Dong Fangyu, she returned to her room. Xia Jiqing also didn't stay. She still needed to attend class. After all, ordinary students didn't have as much freedom in their studies as the special enrollment students. In her room, Bailey Hongzhuang was cultivating the demon calling scripture. After going through a life and death experience at Luoyin Mountains, her cultivation had once again made a great leap. Cultivating comfortably was incomparable to cultivating through experience. Only by going through danger could one grow stronger and improve their cultivation. Sure enough, going to the school really was the right choice. The next day Bailey Hongzhuang went to Azure Water City's market. Because it was so close to Azure Water School and students often frequented there, it had almost everything a cultivator would need. Bailey Hongzhuang carried Baisher. The amount of food this guy ate was really enough to make her blush with shame. This time, she hadn't really gotten to hunt for demonic beast crystals, so Baisher's rations were already running out. The little guy tried every method of acting cute yesterday, rolling about for food, so today she could only go to the market to buy some demonic beast crystals. But the little guy's abilities really were out of the ordinary, so at least her hard-earned savings weren't going to waste. Just as she entered the market, Bailey Hongzhuang's ears were enveloped in noise. There were all kinds of noises as people haggled and fought over prices. It was an extremely lively scene. The city market was clearly specifically managed by somebody. All the booths were properly divided, going as far as the eyes could see. Many of the same booths had different items placed inside, waiting to be brought home. Chapter 289. Bailey Hongzhuang didn't need anything else. This time she came only for demonic beast crystals. Also, she needed a lot of them. In the city there weren't many people who sold demonic beast crystals. Most people directly gave their demonic beast crystals to the mercenary trade union. After all, aside from the pill masters, they weren't of much use for the students of Azure Water School. Bailey Hongzhuang strolled through the city. After searching for half a day, she still hadn't found anywhere to get demonic beast crystals. Even if she were to find some, they were the low-ranked ones of 1 or 2 stars. Suddenly, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes landed on a particular vendor's stand. All sorts of colorful demonic beast crystals were displayed in the booth. The seller was lazily dozing off from behind the chair. Baisher's eyes instantly grew big once he noticed the demonic beast crystals. His eyes looked like they were drooling as he continuously dug his hands in the air. He looked like he was itching to sleep on top of the demonic beast crystals. Bailey Hongzhuang patted Baisher's little head. She cannot let this guy directly eat on the streets. Be good, Bailey Hongzhuang stated. Originally, Baisher couldn't wait to pounce out, but after hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, he obediently rested his upper body in Bailey Hongzhuang's embrace. However, his watery big eyes were still longing for the colorful demonic beast crystals. Bailey Hongzhuang stopped in front of the vendor stall. The seller was a big man in his 40s. His beard was shrubby and his hair was a mess. He looked like he didn't care about his appearance at all. Aside from the demonic beast crystals, there were also other items being displayed in the booth. But they were in very odd shapes. It was hard to distinguish what exactly they were. Up until now, this was the strangest booth Bailey Hongzhuang had ever came across. Other booths sold weapons-related items. This booth was too random. "Uncle, how much are these demonic beast crystals?" Bailey Hongzhuang inquired. The resting seller slowly opened his eyes as he indolently looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. "Not selling." The moment he uttered those words, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but feel stunned. If he wasn't selling, then why did he put these items on display? "Oh, you're also here. What a coincidence." Just as Bailey Hongzhuang was about to ask why the seller wasn't selling, a sharp female voice rang from behind her. Bailey Hongzhuang turned around. As expected, she saw Lin Jessen behind her. Lin Jessen was wearing a yellow light muslin long skirt. Her fine black hair was combed into the most fashionable knot. Her looks were above average, but the arrogance that could be felt between her brows lowered her attraction level by quite a bit. Speaking of which, since yesterday, Bailey Hongzhuang already knew Lin Jessen was hostile towards her. But she wasn't sure of the reason yet. She didn't want to waste time and energy on a woman who only had big boobs but no brain. "I didn't want to bump into you," Bailey Hongzhuang stated idly. Her pupils faintly revealed her annoyance. Lin Jessen was stunned for a bit. Then she began to laugh wordlessly. She didn't believe that Bailey Hongzhuang would really give her no face. "Bailey Hongzhuang, do you know who I am?" Lin Jessen's face was turning malicious. She proudly raised her chin and stared at Bailey Hongzhuang in an intimidate manner. She wanted her to know how powerful she was. But Bailey Hongzhuang didn't care. "If you really want to speak, I can force myself to listen." Bailey Hongzhuang's expression was apathetic. She didn't have the slightest impression of the name Lin Jessen. "You're the person who killed Yun Yang's sister Ji Man." There was a ruthless glint in Lin Jessen's eyes. She was friends with Ji-man. Who would have thought that Ji-man would forever depart from life on her way home? If it weren't for Lu Jingquan making that solemn vow, she almost wouldn't have believed it. Chapter 290. Bailey Hongzhuang's deep phoenix eyes shone with understanding and contempt. Only now did she understand. So Ling Jessen is also Dai Yunyang's person. No wonder whenever they met, the other would reveal a deep hostility. Bailey Hongzhuang had already been at the Azure Water School for half a month. She has yet to see Dai Yunyang's person, but lackeys have coming running one after the other. This Dai Yunyang is like an unwanted ghost. Little Black had a look of disgust on its face. If he has the ability, then come in person instead of always sending some useless guys to do his dirty work. Maybe Dai Yunyang likes the feeling of sending people over and over again before making his grand appearance. Little White thoughtfully said as he rubbed his round chin. Listening to Little Black and Little White's conversation, a smile appeared on Bailey Hongzhuang's lips. So, it's another one of Dai Yunyang's dogs. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were sharp and her voice filled with ridicule. If Dai Yunyang wants to find trouble, then let him do so himself. I don't have the time to spare for those small fries. Bailey Hongzhuang wasn't polite. First it was Dai Jiman who came to find trouble for herself. Now Dai Yunyang also came to find trouble on his own accord. She and the Dai family really aren't compatible. However, always getting Lu Jingquan, this kind of rubbish, to come and provoke her, Bailey Hongzhuang has already lost her patience. Dog? Ling Jessen said shrilly, eyes glaring with hate at Bailey Hongzhuang. This woman dared to say she was a dog? Bailey Hongzhuang, I'm Yunyang's women. Ling Jessen's voice was loud and her hysterical and borderline crazy appearance attracted the attentions of many practitioners at the city square. Everyone curiously looked over. Apparently there was another spectacle happening in city square. Ling Jessen honestly broke down. She wasn't some lackey that followed behind Yunyang's every step, she was his woman. It was because of this identity that there was almost no one in the school that would dare to offend her. Even if it were the special enrollment students, if they see her they would still have to give her a little face. This Bailey Hongzhuang was unexpectedly so insolent. Oh. Bailey Hongzhuang lifted her lips slightly, eyes full of surprise and doubt. You are Dai Yunyang's woman? How come I haven't heard that he was already married? After these words were spoken, Ling Jessen's arrogant face was instantly covered in a layer of cold frost with a faint trace of awkwardness. This was the place that hurt the most in her heart. Although she was willing to be Dai Yunyang's woman, a position that everyone knew about in school, in all this time Dai Yunyang had never brought her to his home. All along her position was not a legitimate one. With Dai Yunyang's standing and reputation in the school, who would dare to say differently to her face? Unexpectedly, this Bailey Hongzhuang just had to talk about this thing in front of so many people. It was really detestable. We will get married very soon. Ling Jessen had a strong expression, voice mixed with unspoken indignance. Oh. It's like that. Bailey Hongzhuang faintly smiled. Well then, I'll congratulate you first. The words were clearly congratulatory, but in Ling Jessen's ears they were full of sarcasm. She was clear that the reason Dai Yunyang never brought her home was because he never had the thought of marrying her. Even so, she is still willing to be Yunyang's women. There was no lack of Azure Water School students in the onlooking practitioners. Upon seeing Ling Jessen and Bailey Hongzhuang starting a conflict with each other, interested looks appeared on their faces. No matter if it's Bailey Hongzhuang or Ling Jessen, both are famous within the Azure Water School. It was unexpected that they'd end up in conflict with each other. Bailey Hongzhuang killed Dai Jiman? Seriously? According to them, it should be that Bailey Hongzhuang killed Dai Jiman before she enrolled. Actually, why hasn't Dai Jiman enrolled at all this year? But Dai Jiman isn't weak. At that time, Bailey Hongzhuang was a student of the Azure Water School yet. How could she have killed her? Chapter 291. Everybody was surprised. As cultivators, killing wasn't strange at all, so what they were shocked about was that Bailey Hongzhuang actually had the strength to kill Dai Jiman. I heard that the first time Teacher Lu and Teacher Fu Hong invited Bailey Hongzhuang to the school, she had actually refused. A man suddenly revealed the news. The matter had already been spread everywhere in the Imperial City, so now even some of the students have already heard of it. Damn, is that really true? So arrogant? Everyone's faces were bewildered as their gazes clouded with doubt. Azure Water School's invitation letter was something all cultivators longed for, but then why would Bailey Hongzhuang actually refuse it? Of course it's true. Do you really think I'd just pull up some baseless rumors to say? The man's face was calm, but in fact he had only just heard about it and exaggerated it. Wow, I really didn't expect Bailey Hongzhuang to actually be so awesome. No wonder she could kill Dai Jiman. Bailey Hongzhuang was the first cultivator in history to refuse Azure Water School's invitation letter, so naturally there must have been strength behind that confidence. They knew that Teacher Fu Hong and Teacher Lu really did treat Bailey Hongzhuang well. Acting so kind despite being rejected, it was very clear how important they saw Bailey Honghao. Ling Jiesin felt as if her anger was blocking her throat. Bailey Honghao's mocking words and hidden meaning left her completely speechless. If you want to buy something from this shop, you need to take out something that interests the shopkeeper. Otherwise all you can do is talk. Ling Jiesin's eyes shined. Since she couldn't beat her in other fields, she had to beat her in this. This booth was famous in Azure Water City Square for its difficulty, and the shopkeeper clearly wasn't lacking money, so the booth was always set here to do business. So far, the amount of students that were able to trade for something from the shop booth could be counted on one's fingers. It was exactly because the shop was so strange that made many Azure Water School students interested in this thing. Exchanging for something here was even something they could be proud of. Many cultivators would usually come to test their luck, but the result was always the same. They failed. Just looking at you, it's obvious you don't have anything special. Just give up. Ling Jiesin's words were filled with provocation. She wanted to trick Bailey Hongzhuang into impulsively trying to trade with the shopkeeper and fail miserably. I won't give up. This is my thing. If you're that free, it'd be better to think of a way to win Dai Yunyang's heart instead. Her deep, black eyes shone brilliantly. How couldn't she know of Ling Jiesin's little plot? Ling Jiesin's face turned stiff. Bailey Hongzhuang just had to hit her sore spot. Oh, so you don't have the guts. Bailey Hongzhuang crossed her hands and examined Ling Jiesin. Do you want to make a bet? What kind of bet? If I fail, then I'll give you 100,000 gold coins and 50 demonic beast crystals and vice versa. Do you dare? Her soft, indolent voice was mocking as she asked Ling Jiesin if she dared to make the gamble. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her chin as she looked at Ling Jiesin thoughtfully. It really would be a waste to not wreck this woman. Bailey Hongzhuang didn't have the leisure of wasting time with Ling Jiesin. Since she came to find trouble with her, she should pay the price. Hearing the stakes, Ling Jiesin couldn't help but be started. Chapter 292. 100,000 gold coins, 50 demonic beast crystals. This wasn't a small amount. Even to her this was a large figure. Everyone who heard the bet gasped. Either one was not a price many cultivators could afford, yet Bailey Hongzhuang actually used both as a bet. Having this kind of confidence, it really gives people a jolt to the heart. Change to whatever will be used in the previous chapter. They knew how bizarre this stall owner's temper was. Ordinary things wouldn't enter his eyes at all. Is Bailey Hongzhuang really so confident, or is it in order to swindle Ling Jiesin? No matter which possibility, they can tell that Bailey Hongzhuang is a wealthy person. Ling Jiesin just stood there, her pretty face showing awkwardness and hesitation. In this matter, she was the one who started provoking Bailey Hongzhuang. In front of all these cultivators, if she didn't reply, then wouldn't that be too humiliating? Ling Jiesin's eyes stared at Bailey Hongzhuang's face, trying to look at her face for some clues. However, Bailey Hongzhuang's face was still cool and indifferent, a faint smile on her lips. It wasn't possible to see her inner thoughts. What, you don't have the guts to? Bailey Hongzhuang returned the same sentence word for word to Ling Jiesin, making it even more ironic. A feeling of faint contempt came from the crowd. Amongst cultivators, there were more than a few times that disagreements resulted in being slapped in the face. However, something like giving the other a taste of his own medicine, giving him a hard slap in the blink of an eye, was still rarely seen. This Bailey Hongzhuang has quite the personality. It's really bad luck that Ling Jiesin went to her to look for trouble. Haha, I never thought that this Bailey Hongzhuang would have such a personality. I heard that she detoxified the heavily injured Cui Haoyan yesterday. And that was a toxin even the vice principal was at wit's end with. I've also heard that she isn't just talented in cultivation. Her medical skill are also outstanding. The Azure Water School students have always paid close attention to the special enrollment students. The matter of Cui Haoyan and Bai Junyu's serious injuries had spread throughout the school the moment they returned. Naturally, the news of detoxifying the poison had also quickly spread out. It was only then that everyone knew that the new beauty of the special enrollment students was actually a highly skilled doctor. Hearing the sounds of harsh sneers, Ling Jiesin's eyes showed a hint of anger. It was very possible that Bailey Hongzhuang was deliberately scaring her. If she really agreed, then Bailey Hongzhuang would be the one dumbfounded. She not so stupid as to let Bailey Hongzhuang jerk her around and around. Thinking of this, Ling Jessen smiled sarcastically. I'll take that bet. Other than 100,000 gold coins, there were also an additional 50 demonic crystals. Once these have fallen into her hands, she would have a lot more cultivation resources. Wow! More and more cultivators were coming to watch the excitement. Even the stall owners in City Square who weren't doing any business came over. There's something exciting to see again. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrow, a bewitching smile on her face. That's settled then. Don't worry, we will bear witness. Amongst the crowd, a loud male voice burst out. Then following that, everyone started patting their chests. Yes. We will bear witness. Bailey Hongzhuang then walked in front of the stall owner, who was originally resting, but under the attention of so many people opened his eyes. Stall owner, I wonder what kind of things you are interested in? Bailey Hongzhuang asked. At least she had to know the stall owner's area of interest before deciding what to trade with. Pills, weapons, armor, equipment, nothing is off limits. However, I only want things relating to cultivation. Chapter 293. A light flashed through her gleaming dark phoenix eyes. The area of interest wasn't small. From what it looks like, it should be that the stall owner's standards are very high. Ling Jessen was silent, only looking at Bailey Hongzhuang mockingly. She'd like to see what exactly Bailey Hongzhuang would bring out to get the stall owner's interest. Bailey Hongzhuang eyed the stall owner, suddenly noticing that the blue veins on his hands were protruding out like a dragon bellowing in rage. It was sinister and terrifying. Her lips curved into a bewitching smile full of confidence. She already had an idea. The next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang directly took a white porcelain bottle from the primordial chaos ring and showed it to the stall owner. I believe you'd be interested in this. Her voice was clear and melodious, full of confidence and assurance. If she guessed correctly, what the stall owner lacks is exactly this channel opening pill. Channel opening pill, grade 2 pill, used to widen the meridians. The wider the meridians, the stronger the available flow of spirit power. To cultivators, this greatly helps with enhancing their strength. However, meridians themselves weren't really wide. Cultivators with the qualifications could just use a channel opening pill to widen their meridian. On the other hand, those without qualifications could only attempt to use their own strength to widen their meridians little by little. This process was very difficult and one had to be very cautious when doing it. Once too much force was used, you'd end up in the same situation as the stall owner. I'm afraid that the stall owner hasn't been able to cultivate for a while now. However, there was something strange. Since the stall owner had so many demonic cores, he shouldn't be a poor person. Why doesn't he just buy a grade 2 channel opening pill? Seeing how confident Bailey Hongzhuang was, the stall owner couldn't help but have a trace of doubt in his deep and indifferent eyes. After taking the bottle and opening it, his face suddenly stiffened. The stall owner's eyes were rigidly fixed on the pill. The unique fragrance emitting from the pill clearly told him that this was a channel opening pill. He was not an alchemist and had no understanding towards pills whatsoever. He only recognized one kind of pill, channel opening pill. In the past he wasn't careful and inadvertently damaged his meridians. He experienced innumerable hardships to find an alchemist who could treat him. The alchemist told him that only the channel opening pill would be able to heal his injury. However, the pill formula for the channel opening pill had already been lost to time. At first he hasn't believed him, but after looking everywhere he found that the alchemist was telling the truth. Unable to continue cultivating and his cultivation coming to a stop, he opened a stall hoping that one day he'd find a channel opening pill. After so many years he had almost lost all hope. But now, right in front of his eyes, that pill is definitely a channel opening pill. Ling Jessen and the others looked questioningly at the stall owner, only seeing that the hand that held the white porcelain bottle was shaking and the stall owner seemed to be in his own world. What in the world did Bailey Hongzhuang give to the stall owner to have him show such an expression? Ling Jessen furrowed her eyebrows. At this moment she actually had a bad feeling. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved up slightly. From the stall owner's expression, she already determined that her judgment wasn't wrong. It was only after a long while that the stall owner turned his gaze onto Bailey Hongzhuang. His eyes were bloodshot. This is a channel opening pill? His red eyes were restrained and filled with nervousness. His face was firm and calm. However, his trembling hands showed the fear in his heart. He was afraid that she would crush his hope again. When Ling Jiasen heard the words channel opening pill, she couldn't help but laugh. Ha! Stall owner, I think you're confused. The formula for the channel opening pill had been lost long ago. There is no way that there is a channel opening pill in this world. Chapter 294. Even if she wasn't an alchemist, she still understood that the pill formula for the channel opening pill had long been lost in the annals of history. It was ridiculous that the stall owner actually said such unsupported words. Shut up. The stall owner roared, his eyes reddened like an angry leopard, and didn't give Ling Jiasen any room to speak at all. Ling Jiasen was frightened by the stall owner's roar. She didn't understand why he was so angry. However, the stall owner no longer paid attention to her. His eyes once again gazed upon Bailey Hongzhuang, wanting to know her final answer. That's correct. Her voice, as crisp as the wind, was like the sound of nature to the stall owner's ears. It immersed him in a feeling of incredible happiness. The stall owner looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and then at the perfectly round high-quality pill. His heart was full of indescribable excitement. 10 years. A whole 10 years. He had not cultivated for a whole 10 years just to search for a trace of this impossibility. However, after 10 years his patience actually paid off. The stall owner reached out with one hand and grabbed Bailey Hongzhuang's arm. Is what you're saying the truth? This is really the channel opening pill? A flash of doubt crossed the deep phoenix eyes before becoming clear again. 1,000 years ago the channel opening pill wasn't some rare pill. Like the cultivating yuan pill, both were similarly common. From the stall owner's reaction, she determined a fact. In this time the channel opening pill had already been lost. Otherwise the stall owner wouldn't be so worked up. A burst of pain came from the bones in her right hand, but Bailey Hongzhuang could understand the stall owner's excitement. At this point, the pressure on her hand disappeared. A figure suddenly appeared by her side and pulled the stall owner's hand off her arm. Her phoenix eyes slightly turned. Bailey Hongzhuang was surprised to see the figure in black by her side. Gong Shaoqing. Gong Shaoqing was dressed in black robes as usual. His handsome, straight and tall posture was like a cypress, morally upright and lofty. Bailey Hongzhuang was slightly surprised. She didn't think that Gong Shaoqing would show up here and did not think that he would actually do this. Seeing Gong Shaoqing appear, everyone sighed in their hearts. As the Azure Water School's top student, his strength and talent were not just talk. Ling Jiasen glared at Bailey Hongzhuang. In the Azure Water School, Gong Shaoqing was notorious for being unapproachable. Yet he actually stood out to help Bailey Hongzhuang just now? It should be known that Gong Shaoqing's name was synonymous with cold-bloodedness and brutality. If you weren't his friend, then even if you died right in front of him he wouldn't even blink. It had only been a short half-month since Bailey Hongzhuang came to the Azure Water School and yet she had already been accepted by Gong Shaoqing? Why did you come here? Bailey Hongzhuang asked with a light smile on her face. Usually she felt that this guy's icy expression makes people very unhappy. Today she felt that it was pretty good. Happened to pass by. His voice was as cold as always. But with Gong Shaoqing's temperament, it was not bad that he could explain this much. Bailey Hongzhuang turned towards the stall owner and said, "It really is the channel opening pill. If you don't believe me it can be appraised." The stall owner scrutinizingly looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and said, "I believe you." Over the years he had looked through ancient books. In them the appearance of the channel opening pill was recorded. Moreover, as an Azure Water School student, Bailey Hongzhuang had no need to deceive him. Even if she deceived him, he could go to the Azure Water School to find her. Her elegantly perfect smile was framed by her elegant and refined appearance. "Then, you want to do business with me?" "Yes, yes, yes." The stall owner continuously nodded. "I will give you everything in this stall." Chapter 295. Once he said their words, everyone's jaws dropped. No way. This stall had so many demonic cores as well as other stuff. Unexpectedly it all went to Bailey Hongzhuang in this fashion? Bailey Hongzhuang was bursting with laughter. This move from the stall owner didn't surprise her much. After all, he hadn't been able to cultivate for quite a while. In his heart, the value of the channel opening pill was much higher than anything he owns. Ling Jiasen was completely dumbfounded. This is Bailey Hongzhuang trying to hoodwink us, right? Channel opening pill? Who knows how long ago it was lost? How could she possess it? If you want to swindle someone, you should at least do so with a more convincing reasoning, right? Yet the stall owner actually believed it. "Stall owner, this channel opening pill must be a fake. Don't be fooled," Ling Jiasen quickly said. What a joke. It was fine if the stall owner was deceived, but what about her 100,000 gold coins and 50 demonic crystals? The stall owner gave Ling Jiasen a dirty look. Isn't this person able to see others happy at all? I'm willing to be deceived. It's none of your damn business. As his voice faded, the stall owner shot Ling Jiasen a look of scorn. Holding on to the white porcelain bottle, he left the city square, eager to test out the effect of this channel-opening pill. All this was way too dramatic. No one knew how to react. Other cultivators even wanted to ask, was this stall owner a shill brought here by Bailey Hongzhuang? The pill formula for the channel-opening pill had already been lost for so many years. How could Bailey Hongzhuang have it? It's ridiculous. What you're saying is wrong. The vibrating needle technique was also lost many years ago. Yet Bailey Hongzhuang knows it as well. Hearing these words, everyone froze and looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with eyes streaked with fright. How did these long-lost things appear in her hands? Could it be that Bailey Hongzhuang is a cultivator born from a powerful and influential family? Ling Jiesen's face paled. No matter how one looked at it, she should have won the bet. Yet she actually lost? 100,000 gold coins, 50 demonic cores. Where is she going to acquire all this? Bailey Hongzhuang casually glanced at Ling Jiesen. Our bet, remember to pay up in 3 days. With so many people here, you wouldn't renege on it, right? However, the casually spoken words were akin to a mountain pressing down on Ling Jiesen's heart. If she reneged on the bet, then afterwards how would she be able to survive in the Azure Water School? With me here, she wouldn't dare to renege. Gong Shaoqing suddenly said in his indifferent voice, as if the outcome was already decided. Ling Jiesen paled even more. Damn him. How did she not know that Gong Shaoqing liked to help people so much? Everyone's eyes were filled with interest. Such a large amount, Ling Jiesen is really unlucky. Bailey Hongzhuang methodically put everything from the stall into her yin-yang pouch. With so many demonic core, it was enough to feed Baisher for quite a while. Speaking of which, a single rank 2 pill was exchanged for so many demonic cores. It was a really good deal. The sun shined on Bailey Hongzhuang and Gong Shaoqing, causing 2 shadows to stretch out from their bodies, looking especially harmonious. That channel opening pill, it's real? One could not tell Gong Shaoqing's thoughts from his cold face. He was really astonished. The channel opening pill was a pill that many cultivators needed. Only, it had already disappeared 200 years ago. Every time Lu Qinghua talked about this matter, she couldn't help but sigh. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang bring out a channel opening pill today, he was really shocked. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips lifted slightly, clear and beautiful eyes were mocking and teasing, and answered with a question, "What do you think?" Support me on Patreon for early chapter access. Chapter 296. Gong Shaoqing's deep black eyes stared at Bailey Hongzhuang. An unclear emotion surged in them, and yet he did not say a word. Sure enough, this guy was best at playing the cold-blooded card. Bailey Hongzhuang shrugged helplessly. Fine, I'll tell you. It's real. Gong Shaoqing narrowed his eyes. He felt a faint feeling of shock in his heart, yet did not show a bit of emotion on his face and walked towards the school with steady steps. Bailey Hongzhuang was really extraordinary. Whether it's the vibrating needle technique or the long-lost channel opening pill, both unexpectedly appeared in her hands. This is enough to prove that her origins are not common. Exactly. Who is she? For the first time in his life, Gong Shaoqing felt curiosity in his heart. When the students saw Bailey Hongzhuang and Gong Shaoqing walking side by side, an astounded look appeared on each and every one of their youthful faces. It had always been the case that other than Lu Qinghua, there were no other women who could walk together with Gong Shaoqing. They didn't expect that Bailey Hongzhuang could also walk together with him. Everyone's gazes kept changing every second. Even though Bailey Hongzhuang had only arrived at the school for a short time, she gave them a very big shock. Feeling everyone's surprised eyes on her, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyebrows twitched. How did the news from the city square spread back here so quickly? When she returned to the dormitory, she discovered Zhang Yunfeng waiting outside her house. With clear and bright eyes holding a trace of clarity, Bailey Hongzhuang immediately understood the reason Zhang Yunfeng came. Bailey Hongzhuang. Zhang Yunfeng slowly said. Thank you for saving Haoyan. I was rude yesterday. I apologize for that and hope you can forgive me. Zhang Yunfeng's beautiful face was apologetic and full of gratitude. Her words were sincere as she recalled the rude words she said to Bailey Hongzhuang yesterday. She felt like dying from the shame. Under that kind of situation, Bailey Hongzhuang still saved Cui Haoyan. She was incredibly grateful for that. I understand your feelings, don't worry about it. Bailey Hongzhuang's smile showed forgiveness and understanding. As a physician, she had met quite a few family members. However, she wouldn't lend a hand to help cure ordinary people at all. There was not much affection between her and Cui Haoyin. The vast portion of that reason was because of Dong Fangyu. Zhang Yunfeng was touched. Bailey Hongzhuang was unexpectedly so magnanimous. Compared to her, she was really too narrow-minded. Hongzhuang, thank you. In the future, if there's a need for me and Haoyin, just to say a word and we would definitely be there. Zhang Yunfeng's eyes flashed with a sense of steadiness. Kindness should be paid back. In the future, Bailey Hongzhuang's business is her business. Bailey Hongzhuang's smile was gentle. Senior sister doesn't have to worry about it. You should take good care of senior brother Cui instead. Zhang Yunfeng nodded her head and bowed deeply. This time I'm really thankful to you. Inside the house, Bailey Hongzhuang put the demonic cores on her bed. Baisher had already happily jumped onto the bed, his furry body lying on top of the demonic cores with a bright smile on his face. His paws grabbed a demonic core, chomped on it. His entire face was filled with an air of happiness. Bailey Hongzhuang touched Baisher's little head. Demonic cores were really hard, so this little guy's teeth were quite sharp. This Zhang Yunfeng doesn't seem that bad, not as loathsome as she was yesterday, Little White said as it preened itself. Humph, at least she knows to show gratitude. Little Black coldly grunted. The fact that its master would lend a hand was already a big favor. Yet they are actually still talking so inconsiderately. Bailey Hongzhuang single-handedly lifted a fur ball. There's no need to stick up for me. I've just arrived at the Azure Water School. There's no harm in buying people off and being kind to them. Support me on Patreon for early chapter access. Chapter 297. With Cui Haoyin and Zhang Yunfeng's positions, having them owe her a debt of gratitude, really wasn't a bad deal. Haha, I just knew Master wouldn't do anything that would cause her a loss. Little Black smugly raised its eyebrows. Just as Gong Shaoqing returned to his house, Dong Fangyu came and knocked on the door. Gong Shaoqing. Today, I heard some news about Bailey Hongzhuang from the cultivators that came from Fengbo Country's imperial city. It's really too inconceivable. Do you want to know? Dong Fangyu peach blossom eyes blinked as he smiled at Gong Shaoqing. Gong Shaoqing lazily glanced as Dong Fangyu. If you want to say it, then say it. Dong Fangyu's lips widened. With Gong Shaoqing's disposition, if he didn't completely refuse it, then he actually wanted to know. We all used to think that Bailey Hongzhuang was a general's daughter. Then I learned that she was bullied at the general's household. In the past it was widely spread throughout the entire imperial city that she was a waste. Until this year, that is. Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly soared and bloomed radiantly. She not only took first place in the royal hunting competition, but also made a name for herself as a genius doctor in the imperial city. After comprehending all this, the shocked Dong Fangyu felt couldn't possibly get any higher. It was only then that he understood why Bailey Hongzhuang had that reaction when he said she was a pampered young lady. With a childhood of being bullied and made fun of in her childhood, how would she have lived a life of luxury? It wouldn't even hold a candle to the life of commoners. Gong Shaoqing's expression also held a trace of shock. With her bearing now, they couldn't at all see how she could have experienced that kind of past. So it's to say that all the changes Bailey Hongzhuang went through happened within this year? Dong Fangyu nodded slightly. That's right. No matter if it's opening Godly Doctor Square or revealing her abilities, it all happened within this 1 year. In my opinion, Bailey Hongzhuang must have hidden her true abilities for many years to be able to utterly reveal her true strength this year. What incredible restraint. That gentle and handsome face showed shock and lament. If it were ordinary people, they would have been long overwhelmed by this kind of environment, let alone hiding all their strength to just be able to reveal it to the world one day. Over 10 years of living and enduring the humiliation in exchange for a slap in everyone's face. This kind of disposition was simply terrifying. All along he felt that Gong Shaoqing's disposition towards calmly cultivating was scary. But after knowing about Bailey Hongzhuang's experiences, he just felt that the most incredible one was Bailey Hongzhuang. Adversity encourages growth, and Bailey Hongzhuang almost completely had her back to the wall. If that's really the case, then Bailey Hongzhuang is very frightening. Gong Shaoqing used the word frightening, because without personally experiencing it, there was no way to understand the kind of pain that comes from struggling under that kind of environment. He was only afraid that, in the past, Bailey Hongzhuang's growth was only motivated by her hatred towards the people of the general's household. However, in the present they didn't feel this from Bailey Hongzhuang. It could be seen that her thoughts were profound. Frightening? Dong Fengyu's long eyebrows slanted, his pink peach blossom eyes shined with a mesmerizing light. I don't think so. As a cultivator, the most important thing is persistence and restraint. Gong Xiaoqing never denied that. With this kind of special quality, one could only imagine Bailey Hongzhuang's future. Forget about cultivation, this kind of medical skill shouldn't be due to Bailey Hongzhuang's efforts alone. It's simply not possible. Gong Xiaoqing's voice deepened slightly. It should be that she has a strong master. I also think the same. Perhaps it was that master that cured Bailey Hongzhuang. Dong Fengyu's bright eyes flashed. After knowing all this, he instead felt a bit of pity towards Bailey Hongzhuang. That stubborn girl brimmed with pride and arrogance from head to toe, but she made his heart feel pained and worried. Hey, in the future, don't call Bailey Hongzhuang stupid or I won't let you off. Dong Fengyu hit Gong Xiaoqing's chest with his fist. Then, he put his hands behind his head and walked back to his own room with dignity. Gong Xiaoqing's expression changed in an instant. Dong Fengyu seemed to be a bit strange. As she had completed the mercenary mission of the armored rhinoceros, Bailey Hongzhuang had received 100 points. The academy had many things going on at this time, but they had no way to complete the mission in such a short period of time. She might as well go cultivate at the pagoda and see how that went. As the most attractive cultivating spot in Azure Water School, it definitely had its reasons for becoming so famed. She didn't know how much 100 points were either, so she might as well go check it out. The Cultivation Pagoda was the tallest building in Azure Water School, with 21 floors. Even if one was outside of Azure Water School, one could see the Cultivation Pagoda in just a glance. The Cultivation Pagoda was entirely black, understated and dull. The special material on it prominently penetrated slightly like colored glass. Even if the sunlight shone on it, the building would not reflect any light. It was just like an immense attracting magnet by thoroughly absorbing everything around it. Just looking at the outside, one would feel an unordinary aura. In the second when she walked into the Cultivation Pagoda, Bailey Hongzhuang could clearly feel a vague presence scanning her. It could be assumed that this was to determine if she was a student from the Azure Water School. Standing on the first floor, Bailey Hongzhuang felt the exceptionally strong spirit power. These powers and everything else all surged into her internal body. Emotions flashed in her pitch-black glittering pupils. No wonder the cultivators in the cultivating pagoda of Azure Water School cultivated so much faster than other cultivators. She didn't know how much faster the cultivating speed could be here versus how fast she had cultivated in the past. Upon sweeping her gaze over the area, Bailey Hongzhuang discovered that this building had 8 extremely spacious and empty rooms. Every stone room scope was pretty big. At this moment, Bailey Hongzhuang noticed a board that was hung next to the entrance. It clearly explained all the necessary costs of points for each floor. First floor 100 points per day. Second floor 95 points per day. Third floor 90 points per day. The higher the floor was, the less points it required. Because all the power had assembled underground, the lower the floor, the better the effect it had on cultivation. Bailey Hongzhuang possessed 100 points, but to cultivate in one floor, she would actually only have enough to cultivate for a day. Though this cultivation pagoda produces extremely good results, it needs 10 times the points. If I were to cultivate on this floor, how many missions would I have to complete? Bailey Hongzhuang was secretly speechless. She had accompanied Gong Xiaoqing and the others to complete this mission, and this mission hadn't been that low either. Among the 4 people, everyone could only get 100 points. It could only be feared that the other students in Azure Water School were making even less points. It turned out that everyone had been saving them up. As it turned out, points were the most important thing to a Azure Water School student. Master, this place is too great. Little Black and Little White excitedly said. After they had been infused with so much strength, it had been extremely helpful to both of their cultivations. Let's first walk up and find a good place where we can cultivate. Her delicate and extremely beautiful face drew into a witty smile. The others could only cultivate one by one, but she could bring Little Black and Little White as well as Baisher and come cultivate together. When added all up, spending these points was extremely worth it. Though this type of strength was becoming a rarity, it was much more fulfilling when compared to the usual cultivation practices. Although points were used up very quickly here, Bailey Hongzhuang found that the rooms were all still filled with cultivators, with even more waiting outside for the other cultivators to leave. The door plate outside the stone room showed the cultivators inside and how long they would cultivate, making it very convenient for everybody to find a room. Bailey Hongzhuang went to the 11th floor. Here she only had enough points to cultivate for 2 days. Even if she went up another floor, unless she went up to the 15th floor, she only had enough points to rest for 2 days. The 11th floor also had 8 rooms, but they were a lot more narrow than the first floor. Bailey Honghong discovered that every floor had exactly 8 stone rooms, but the rooms grew smaller with every passing floor. On the 11th floor it could only fit about 3 people. At the 20th floor the rooms would probably only be able to fit 1 person. Bailey Hongzhuang noted that one of the stone rooms would be free in 2 hours and directly sat outside the room to wait. Sitting on the floor, Bailey Honghong started to cultivate. There was a lot of benefits, and cultivating outside was just as good as cultivating inside the rooms. But the rules were that you could only stay in the hall if you were waiting for a room, otherwise your points would be deducted. With such a punishment, all the students obediently followed the rules. After all, Azure Water School's prestige couldn't be violated so easily. 2 hours passed in a flash. A little pop could be heard as the door opened. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lit up. It was finally her turn. A green-robed man opened the door. He looked at Bailey Honghong, startled, before preparing to leave. At that moment, a familiar and untimely voice suddenly rang. Qin Tianjing, just in time. Since you're done cultivating, pass the room to me. Peng Yunxiang just arrived at the 11th floor and saw Bailey Hongzhuang. After being publicly humiliated in front of everybody at the mercenary trade union, his hatred only grew stronger. Truly they were enemies on a narrow road. Qin Tianjing was his good brother, so as long as he opened his mouth, the room would definitely be his. Although 50 points for a day really was quite expensive, if it could make Bailey Hongzhuang furious, he would be happy to pay. Qin Tianjing naturally knew what Peng Yunxiang and smiled. Sure, I'm just about done. You can go in. Bailey Hongzhuang narrowed her eyes. She didn't expect that Peng Yunxiang would still have the guts to find trouble with her. Just as Peng Yunxiang was about to enter the stone room, Bailey Hongzhuang blocked his way, her red lips gently opening. Everybody needs to wait their turn. Hearing this, Peng Yunxiang and Qin Tianjing both broke out laughing. Bailey Hongzhuang, there's only the 3 of us here. If the 2 of us say something's the truth, it's the truth. What can you do about it? Peng Yunxiang's eyes flicked with malice. Because of this woman, he had lost so much face. Everything was because of Bailey Honghong. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were indifferent and ruthless. I said, this room is mine. Her cold, clear voice was laced with a threat. She glanced at Peng Yunxiang and Qin Tianjing coldly, her gaze as sharp as a knife. This was already her warning. Peng Yunxiang sneered, Bailey Hongzhuang, don't think you're so amazing just because you have a little bit of strength. We aren't scared of you. He admitted that he wasn't Bailey Hongzhuang's opponent, but if they teamed up, Bailey Hongzhuang will definitely lose. Bailey Hongzhuang, you should have thought of the consequences when you bully my brothers. Qin Tianjing's voice was cold. Chapter 300. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved into an enchanting smile. Her bewitchingly beautiful face exuded a charm that fascinated all living beings up one way and down the other. Yet her phoenix eyes were like a poisonous snake, flashing with vicious and tyrannical light. She, Bailey Hongzhuang, did not like to casually speak out, so she was thought of as being easy to bully? You have to know she was never someone who had a good temper. Bang! Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly punched a fist towards Peng Yunxiang. A surge of spiritual energy exploded from her fist and directly sent Peng Yunxiang's body flying for more than 10 meters. Although Peng Yunxiang was also at the mysterious Ian middle stage, Bailey Hongzhuang had never put him in her eyes. The sudden and unforeseen event was completely out of Qin Tianjing's expectations. Peng Yunxiang didn't even have time to react when Bailey Hongzhuang had taken action. I am exactly bullying your brother. What are you going to do about it? The eyes that clearly differentiated between right and wrong flashed with a dazzlingly brilliant light. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her chin slightly, her attitude arrogant and haughty. Qin Tianjing's eyes were ablaze with anger. Today he originally wanted to help Peng Yunxiang get back at Bailey Hongzhuang. He didn't think that right after finishing his words, Peng Yunxiang would be beat up once again. He felt that this fist didn't hit Peng Yunxiang's body, but landed on his face instead. Bailey Hongzhuang, you're a special enrollment student. I will admit that your ability and talent aren't bad. However, I'm at the mysterious Ian late stage. Even if he wasn't a special enrollment student, he had more time to cultivate than Bailey Hongzhuang. His strength was also above hers. Perhaps a year later he might not be able to be her opponent. However, the current Bailey Hongzhuang wasn't his opponent. Mysterious Ian late stage. Bailey Hongzhuang's face showed shock and faintly looked scared. The next moment, however, she made a 180-degree change. Is that very amazing? Qin Tianjing's eyes were full of anger. This Bailey Hongzhuang was really too detestable. Her casually disregarding words were full of sarcasm and insult. You're seeking death. Qin Tianjing gnashed his teeth. The spiritual energy inside his body instantly burst out. If he didn't teach Bailey Hongzhuang a lesson, then her arrogance would know no bounds. Beat him up. Little Black angrily waved his fist around. This kind of eyesore should be stomped to death with a single foot. Bailey Hongzhuang's right hand bounced a bit, sending Little Black and Little White jumping straight out. Bang, bang. Two small sounds were heard as Little Black and Little White directly hit Qin Tianjing's eyes. Ah! Qin Tianjing gave a cry of sorrow, feeling severe pain in his eyes. The spiritual energy that had half gathered was utterly diffused. Bailey Hongzhuang kicked Qin Tianjing's stomach with her foot and also sent him flying back for tens of meters. Peng Yunxiang had just clutched his very painful stomach and stood up when he saw Qin Tianjing flying at him like a flash of lightning. Ah! Another cry of sorrow came out as Peng Yunxiang was crushed heavily under Qin Tianjing's body. Peng Yunxiang had a thin body while Qin Tianjing was a real fatty. The moment Qin Tianjing fell on top of him, he spat out a mouthful of blood as he was crushed half to death. Qin Tianjing, hurry and get up. Peng Yunxiang cried out. If he continued to be crushed like this, he really would lose his life. I'll get up immediately. Qin Tianjing continuously nodded, angrily staring at Bailey Hongzhuang. You actually used hidden weapons. Under Little Black and Little White's attack, Qin Tianjing's eyes swelled and became like a panda's. He forcefully opened a tiny gap in his eyes but simply couldn't make out the situation in front of him. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly walked in front of the two. Just when Qin Tianjing started to get up and the moment Peng Yunxiang was released, Bailey Hongzhuang fiercely stomped on Qin Tianjing's body with her foot. Chapter 301 Bang. Both of their bodies once again went crashing to the floor. Peng Yunxiang spat out another mouthful of foaming blood, face already deathly pale. You two. In the future if you see me you better walk the other way. Or else next time I will have you both completely disappear from this world. Her apathetic voice was filled with killing intent. Peng Yunxiang and Qin Tianjing suddenly felt frozen. This killing intent sent chills down their spines. After those words Bailey Hongzhuang no longer paid any attention to them. She inserted her point card into the card slot and closed the door. The spiritual energy inside the stone chamber was more abundant and purer than outside. Bailey Hongzhuang took a deep breath. This kind of place was really the best for cultivating. Little Black, Little White and Baishir each chose a space. Like that, one person and three beasts started to cultivate at the cultivation pagoda. After taking the channel opening pill, the stall owner's original situation of not being able to cultivate had improved. He became more and more certain that this was the real deal. There were quite a few people in the city square that understood the stall owner's situation. In knowing that the stall owner was already able to immediately go into cultivating, they were all scared to the heavens. The long-lost channel opening pill had appeared again. This news was like the wind, spreading swiftly throughout the entire Azure Water City. Before, quite a few cultivators had witnessed Bailey Hongzhuang using the channel opening pill to make a deal with the stall owner. And now they were talking about this matter even more exaggeratedly. Channel opening pill. This was a pill that many cultivators needed. As long as they were able to broaden their meridians, their cultivation speed would greatly rise. At the same time, it would be more favorable that they would be able to walk further on their road of cultivation. A huge commotion arose in Azure Water City. Many cultivators wanted to find Bailey Hongzhuang to understand the real situation. At best, they would be able to think of a way to get a channel opening pill. That would be really great. Some cultivators knew that the reason Bailey Hongzhuang made a deal with the stall owner was for the demonic beast crystals. Even though they didn't know why she wanted them, they all began to gather them. As long as they had a sufficient amount of demonic beast crystals, they believed that there was a large possibility to be able to trade for a channel opening pill. That was a pill that had been lost long ago. As long as they had it and other cultivators didn't, their cultivation speed would undoubtedly be much stronger by a large margin, when compared to other cultivators. Though the value of the demonic crystals aren't low, they were of no real use to them. How would they compare to the importance of the channel opening pill? Just as everyone started looking for Bailey Hongzhuang, they discovered that she had disappeared. There was no trace of her at the dormitory. Dong Fangyu and the others were already struck with amazement after knowing all this. Now, countless cultivators hovered outside the dormitory of the special enrollment students every day. Suffice to say that once Bailey Hongzhuang appears, they had no doubt that these cultivators would immediately swarm her. She would be completely surrounded. How would Bailey Hongzhuang have channel-opening pills? Doubt flashed across Dong Fangyu's handsome eyes. Her deeds always caused people to be astonished. Lu Qingyue twitched her eyebrows, gentle and pretty face holding a sense of contemplation. Bailey Hongzhuang. Is she also an alchemist? Probably not. Dong Fangyu rubbed his chin. That girl was already a godly doctor that mastered the vibrating needle technique. If she was also an alchemist, what sort of concentration did she have? Cultivation. Medical skills. Refining skills. No matter which of the three, each one required a huge amount of concentration as well as time. For Bailey Hongzhuang to be able to cultivate her spiritual energy and develop her medical skills to this level, it already made others feel ashamed. If she knew all three, they might as well have fed their youth to the dogs. Chapter 302. The concern in Lu Qinyue's eyes gradually dissipated. She was originally worthy of being the undisputed goddess in the eyes of all the cultivators in the Azure Water School. Since Bailey Hongzhuang appeared, all this had become precarious for her. Number 1. Beauty. Everyone had already began discussing it. It could be said that she and Bailey Hongzhuang were equally supported. The identity as an alchemist also added quite a bit in her favor. However, she never thought Bailey Hongzhuang would have mastered the long-lost vibrating needle technique. With the identity of godly doctor hanging over her head, it wasn't any weaker than that of an alchemist. If Bailey Hongzhuang was also an alchemist, then she would be completely defeated. However, her thoughts were the same as Dong Fangyu's. One's concentration and energy is limited. It's impossible to master everything. Moreover, the conditions to become an alchemist were harsh. Where would there be such a coincidence? Gong Shaoqing looked at the many students below. This was only the situation inside the school. Outside there are many more who wish to find Bailey Hongzhuang. Yesterday, when he saw that scene at the city square, he had already surmised that such a situation would occur. Channel opening pill. To cultivators it is indeed attractive enough. Bailey Hongzhuang, where exactly did you go? Dong Fangyu's handsome eyebrows twitched. He still saw Bailey Hongzhuang yesterday. How come no one knew where she went today? Cultivation pagoda. Leaving these two words in an apathetic voice, Gong Shaoqing turned and went back into his house. Oh, Dong Fangyu said suddenly. So that's how it is. But how did this guy know that? Dong Fangyu rubbed the back of his head. He turned and also went back into his house. 100 points. She wouldn't be able to stay in the cultivation pagoda for long. Lu Qinyue stared at Gong Shaoqing's back as he left, a complicated look in her clear eyes. Usually, Gong Shaoqing has never been concerned about anything. None of them knew where Bailey Hongzhuang went. So how did he know? Her heart clenched for a moment, however Lu Qinyue didn't show any expression. Ling Jessen was undoubtedly the most depressed person. Since leaving the city square yesterday, she had been gathering gold coins and demonic cores. Even if brought out all her possessions, she still wouldn't have 100,000 gold coins and 50 demonic crystals. In desperation, she could only scrimp and save and ask her friends to lend her a bit. With Gong Shaoqing's intimidation, even if she wanted to renege on her bet, she'd be able to. In her desperation, she even sold her valued points before she could gather everything. She was so miserable. And yet Bailey Hongzhuang became a sought-after figure to all the cultivators. It was really just too hateful. Just wait until Yin-Yang returns. She would definitely make Bailey Hongzhuang pay her back 1,000 times over. At the time the entire Azure Water City was going crazy over the channel opening pill, Bailey Hongzhuang was immersed in cultivating at the Cultivation Pagoda. With such abundant spiritual energy, it was really beneficial towards cultivating. On the previous trip to the Luoyin mountain range, her strength had definitely risen to a certain degree. In this Cultivation Pagoda, each time she cultivated it would provide the maximum return. Little Black and Little White excitedly absorbed the spiritual energy in the Cultivation Pagoda. At their cultivation level, it wasn't easy to get to the next level. However, cultivating is something they must do every day. Compared to Little Black and Little White's seriousness, Baisher found it comfortable and began a routine of eating then sleeping, sleeping then eating. Because Baisher is the demonic beast king, At a young age it only needs sleep and be able to absorb spiritual energy to advance its cultivation. Knowing this, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but feel a bit envious. Eat then sleep, sleep then eat. Being able to advance your cultivation just by doing this was really too amazing. The demonic calling scripture was regarded as a taboo cultivation method. Its way of cultivation is also slightly different. Chapter 303 All the other methods utilize the body's main meridians to cultivate and enhance their cultivation. On the other hand, the demonic calling scripture utilizes the opening of all the meridians in the body to cultivate. As each additional meridian is opened, it will be used to cultivate. Since the moment Bailey Hongzhuang began cultivating using the scripture, the meridians she could cultivate with were 2 more compared to the others. By now, the meridians she could use to cultivate were already 3 more compared to the others. This amount didn't seem large. However, as long as you were a cultivator, then you'd understand the weight of those 3 meridians. Moreover, they will still continue opening. Later, her cultivation speed would greatly surpass that of the other cultivators. This was where the taboo cultivation method went against the heavens. As soon as the 2 days were up, a small alarm rang out as a reminder. Little Black and Little White climbed up onto Bailey Hongzhuang's head again. Then she carried Baisher as she left the cultivation pagoda. Just 2 short days of cultivating and Bailey Hongzhuang was made aware of the benefits of the cultivation pagoda. She needs to earn more points so she can increase her cultivation quicker. However, when Bailey Hongzhuang returned to the dormitory, she was shocked by the sea of people that greeted her. Since when has the outside of our dormitory been so lively? Her ink-black phoenix eyes held a bit of wonder. It couldn't be that within these 2 days that something exciting happened with the special enrollment class again? Jiang Penyi had already waited outside the dormitory for 2 days and had yet to see Bailey Hongzhuang. His heart was full of helplessness. It was reasonable to say that since the demonic beast tied at the Luoyin mountain range had happened no long ago, that it shouldn't be that she had gone out on a task. So then where did she go? Why is it that no trace of her could be found? When they heard about the earth-shaking news of the channel-opening pill, they hadn't held any expectation. After all, they had no relationship with her. Bailey Hongzhuang did not have a reason to help them after all. However, he inadvertently discovered that his roommate, Xiao Zifen, came from the same country as Bailey Hongzhuang. Xiao Zifen was even her friend. As a result, as long as Xiao Zifen asked, then wouldn't they have hope? Jiang Pingyi, let's return. Hongzhuang is very busy every day. Let's not disturb her. Xiao Zifen had an awkward look on his face. Bailey Hongzhuang treated him very well. She had even gifted him a cultivating yuan pill. He had always kept this kindness in his heart. However, he didn't have anything that could repay her. And at the moment, Jiang Pingyi and the others had dragged him here to disturb Bailey Hongzhuang. He really had a heavy weight on his mind. Xiao Zifen, we just want a chance to use demonic beast crystals to exchange for channel opening pills. We're not asking without giving anything in return. Just help us with this, okay? Jiang Pingyi's face was full of pleading. With his current strength, it was very difficult to get a great accomplishment at the Azure Water School. If he had the channel opening pill, his chances would at least improve a lot. One had to know. Before the channel opening pill was lost to time, as long as they had the right qualifications, all cultivators would use it. This was because the effect of broadening one's meridians was really too important. They also knew that requesting Xiao Zifen to help was pushing him into a corner. But this was the only way they could get close to Bailey Hongzhuang. It was during this conversation that Jiang Pingyi excitedly looked forward, light flashing through his eyes. Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang has returned. Nowadays, Bailey Hongzhuang's name was on almost all their minds. Therefore, when Jiang Pingyi whispered that she had returned, almost every cultivator immediately turned to look towards that direction. Bailey Hongzhuang found that every cultivator was excitedly staring at her. That excitement was akin to a starving dog seeing a bone for the first time in days, eyes green with greed. Chapter 304, Master, what in the world did you do? Little Black's face was stiff. This flock of people can't be Pangyun Xiang's people wanting to kill you, right? Little White shrunk his neck. This number of people is a little too scary. They've seen group battles before, but the sheer amount of people this time was simply too much. These people are really too unbridled, daring to make a clamor right in front of our door. Little Black rubbed its fists eagerly. It seems like it's finally time for us 2 black and white fiends to debut. Bailey Hongzhuang. The crowd clamored excitedly as they all ran towards her, pushing up against each other. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang felt even more pressured. Just as the two black and white fiends were about to attack, the students all shouted their intentions. Bailey Hongzhuang, do you still have any more channel opening pills? Bailey Hongzhuang, please sell me a channel opening pill. Any price is fine. Bailey Hongzhuang, I prepared a lot of demonic beast crystals. I'll give them all to you if you give me a channel opening pill. Bailey Hongzhuang finally realized why so many people were outside her door. So news about the channel opening pill has already spread. Channel opening pills used to be a very common pill, but here it seemed to be extremely precious. Because they were rare, they were extremely valuable. This was actually pretty good news for her. If she could exchange channel opening pills for demonic beast crystals, she'd never run out of food for Baisher. An idea floated into her mind. She needed points. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a smile. What a good idea. Dong Fengyu noticed the noise downstairs and instantly knew that Bailey Hongzhuang had returned. Otherwise it wouldn't be so lively. He immediately left his room. If so many cultivators surrounded her, wanting to leave wouldn't be easy. Everyone calm down, listen to me. Bailey Hongzhuang shouted. With so many students clamoring around her, she had no chance to speak. The students in the front quieted down, but the students in the back continued to make a ruckus. Soon the scene was very chaotic. Her ink-black eyes revealed a hint of helplessness. It looks like she needed to magnify her voice. But just as Bailey Hongzhuang was about to louden her shout, a water-blue figure appeared beside her. Along with the man's arrival, the crowd of clamoring students miraculously quietened. Bailey Hongzhuang turned, staring at Dong Fengyu astonished. She hadn't thought Dong Fengyu would suddenly appear now. Dong Fengyu was wearing soft, water-blue brocade robes, contrasting with his tall and straight appearance. His temper was mild like jade with handsome, picturesque facial features. Dong Fengyu looked at Bailey Hongzhuang mischievously, his peach blossom eyes filled with charm. He reached out and directly pulled Bailey Hongzhuang out of the crowd. Seeing this scene, all the students were startled. What exactly was Dong Fengyu and Bailey Hongzhuang's relationship? Although Dong Fengyu always treated Azure Water School students very well, this was the first time they saw him pull a female student's hand. Bailey Hongzhuang was also startled. Dong Fengyu released her hand after they got out of the encirclement. I pulled you out so it'd be less troublesome. You didn't take offense, right? Dong Fengyu's warm, hazy voice asked with concern as his eyes shined brightly. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head smilingly. They were groupmates and friends, plus he had also pulled her hand during their time at Luoyin Mountain. It wasn't anything at all. Chapter 305, Everyone listen up. A light beautiful voice came from Bailey Hongzhuang's lips. With Dong Fengyu taking command of the situation, all the students quietly watched Bailey Hongzhuang. They all wanted to know if Bailey Hongzhuang had channel opening pills in her possession or not. I know everyone came due to the channel opening pill. I do in fact have channel opening pills. However, since I'm selling them, their prices would of course be announced to the public. 7 days later, I will auction off 3 channel opening pills. Everyone may use points, demonic beast crystals as well as other rare herbs and other such items that you feel appropriate to trade with. How does that sound? Her delicate jade-like face framed an enchanting smile. At this moment, her otherworldly figure was like a sly spirit. Each and every move attracted everyone's gazes. How to maximize the pills worth the most is something Bailey Hongzhuang was very clear about. In her past life, she had done similar things often. All the students were first astonished after hearing these words. Then a strong firmness came over their eyes. 3 channel opening pills was much better than they had imagined. As long as there were pills, then they had hope. What's more, though an auction was somewhat beyond their expectations, the cultivators who weren't familiar with Bailey Hongzhuang didn't have to worry about the others being showed favoritism. This was absolutely fair. How they get the channel opening pill would depend solely on their own ability. Dong Fengyu's emotional eyes flashed with astonishment and lamentation. He had also never thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would have this kind of method. Not to mention he was shocked that Bailey Hongzhuang actually still had 3 channel opening pills. How would this kind of long-lost pill make its way into her hands? At this moment he admired Bailey Hongzhuang's business sense. An auction. In the history of the Azure Water School, such a situation has never happened before. This kind of method would maximize the profits. Points. This were so precious to the point that students wouldn't sell them. However, he believed that 7 days later the students who want to use points to trade wouldn't be few in number. After 7 days at the same time we will meet here. Is that alright? Bailey Hongzhuang's beautiful and perfect face held a confident and steady smile, her tone indifferent. She had the channel opening pills in her possession, so naturally she had the right to talk. Ling Jiesin used up every bit of effort and brought out everything that could be used to raise money before she could gather enough for 100,000 gold coins and 50 demonic beast crystals. As of now, she was practically penniless. If Dai Yunyang doesn't return soon, during this period she really didn't know how her days would pass. However, when Ling Jiesin arrived at the special enrollment student dormitory, she witnessed a lively spectacle. Bailey Hongzhuang was just like a goddess standing in front of everyone. The looks of expectation all fell on her, waiting for her to issue orders. Ling Jiesin angrily clenched her plain white fingers. Her heart was depressed to the extreme. What? Why did she have to fall down to such a state, and yet Bailey Hongzhuang gets endless glory? Bailey Hongzhuang, you aren't even a pill master. Where would those pills come from? It couldn't be that you're going to casually bring out a pill and fool everyone, right? Ling Jiesin spoke out with the intent to undermine her. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyebrows twitched. Looking at the slowly approaching Ling Jiesin, her smile held a trace more ridicule. Well, if it isn't Ling Jiesin? You came to pay your debt? At her remark, Ling Jiesin suddenly had an ugly look on her face. Chapter 306. Ling Jiesin could be considered as a rather famous figure in Azure Water School, but now she had fallen to such a state because of Bailey Hongzhuang. But still, this woman actually still said that in front of everyone. Isn't it just that? I'll give it to you. Ling Jiesin walked in front of Bailey Hongzhuang, directly taking out 100,000 gold coins and 50 demonic beast crystals to give to her. Her face was filled with disdain as if those things were nothing to her. A cunning light flicked past Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes. I heard that Miss Ling suffered a lot trying to collect everything? She, Bailey Hongzhuang, refused to suffer any losses. If Ling Jiesin wanted to shame her, she first needed to think about her own abilities. Everyone turned to look at Bailey Hongzhuang. Everybody heard about the two's bet. If it wasn't for their bet, they never would have known that Bailey Hongzhuang possessed channel-opening pills. Which is why even though Ling Jiesin had been in dire straits for the past few days, they were still very thankful to her. Ling Jiesin's eyes flickered with anger. Bailey Hongzhuang always managed to make her feel like dying out of anger. Since words didn't work, Ling Jiesin decided to not argue with Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang, you're just changing the subject. Ling Jiesin's eyes flickered with malice. You couldn't have refined them, so are those pills really channel-opening pills? Dongfang Yu looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with concern. This Ling Jiesin always wanted to pick faults. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled at Dongfang Yu before turning to look at Ling Jiesin. What? Do you want to make another bet? Hearing this, everybody couldn't help but smile. Who didn't see that Ling Jiesin's face had already gone red? You. Ling Jiesin couldn't restrain her anger. After losing the bet, it felt as if she could never raise her chin up at Bailey Hongzhuang ever again. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes turned cold as she raised her chin. Her body seemed to shine splendidly as a noble aura filled the air. Why do I need to prove my channel-opening pills to you? Her ink-black eyes shined with a sharp light. Who do you think you are? As for the channel-opening pills quality, everyone who believes it can come in 7 days' time. If you guys don't trust it, then you don't have to. I, Bailey Hongzhuang, never liked having to explain myself. Her domineering voice was filled with a bone-reaching arrogance. She had never liked explaining things. Everyone who believes her can come, and if they didn't, they just didn't need to. This was her arrogance. She had confidence in her channel-opening pills. After speaking, Bailey Hongzhuang directly turned around and entered the special enrollment students' dorm with Dongfang Yu. The other cultivators looked at Ling Jiesin with displeasure. Before they had still wanted to ask a few things, but because Ling Jiesin got in the way, they had lost their chance. They had complete confidence in the channel-opening pill. They've all already heard about the stall keeper. If it really was fake, he definitely would have already complained. So, the channel-opening pill must be real. Besides, Bailey Hongzhuang wasn't a person who lacked money, so how could she bear to let a little amount of money to damage her reputation? Special enrollment student, godly doctors. How could 3 channel-opening pills compare to the 2 titles? Therefore, they had no need to doubt her. Chapter 307. Feeling the disgust in everyone's eyes, Ling Jessen's expression became even more ugly and shouted, "What are you looking at? Didn't I just do this for your own good?" Hearing this, everyone was even more speechless. If it wasn't because of Dai Yunyang's status, they really wanted to rush up and teach Ling Jessen a lesson. With the kind of attitude that deserves a beating, anyone who saw it would not be able to stop from getting a bit angry. She's really a crazy woman. There are always idiots, but this year there is especially a lot. What reason is there to pay attention to her? I want to avoid lowering my style. One word after the other. All the students casually spoke words full of mocking and derision. They did not at all have any good feelings towards Ling Jessen. The students gradually dispersed while Ling Jessen just stood there blankly. At one time, these people also looked at her with envy. There were no lack of people that sucked up to her. And now what is this? Why is everyone standing on Bailey Hongzhuang's side? It is really hateful. Ling Jessen desperately yearned for Dai Yunyang to return. As long as he returned, these people absolutely wouldn't dare to treat her like this. Dong Fangyu and Bailey Hongzhuang walked down the hallway of their dormitory. "You've been at the Cultivation Pagoda these past 2 days?" Bailey Hongzhuang smiled slightly as she nodded. "That's correct. I've cultivated for 2 days and used up my points. However, the results of cultivating at the Cultivation Pagoda was indeed very good." Dong Fangyu lifted his eyebrows. Looks like Gong Xiaoqing's is very knowledgeable towards Bailey Hongzhuang's movements. "Senior Dongfang, I have an important matter I want to ask of you." Bailey Hongzhuang stared deeply at Dong Fangyu, her beautifully bright and clear eyes held a light of expectation. "What matter? As long as it's within my power, there's definitely no problem." Dong Fangyu's reply was quick and refreshingly unreserved. "I hope that you can come to the auction 7 days later. Your prestige in the school is quite high. With you there, everyone would maintain order better." Her ink-black phoenix eyes flashed brightly with wisdom. Even though her fame in the Azure Water School was also high, it did not reach Dong Fangyu's level of prestige. After all, prestige is not the kind of thing that could be established overnight. Dong Fangyu had already spent a year at the school and had an irreplaceable position in the students' hearts. Dong Fangyu suddenly nodded and said, "No problem. Don't worry about it. Then I will thank you first." Returning to her house, Bailey Hongzhuang immediately brought out her furnace. She didn't have any extra channel opening pills on her hand, so she had to refining them now. The channel opening pill she gave to the stall owner before was actually prepared for her own use. Due to the unique characteristic of the demonic calling scripture, she not only had to open her meridians but also broaden them. Therefore the effects from using the channel opening pill would be excellent. The stall owner's need for a channel opening pill had greatly exceeded her expectations. However, the situation now was quite good. The news that Bailey Hongzhuang still had channel opening pills in her possession instantly spread throughout the entire Azure Water School. To everyone this news was tremendously exciting. As long as they had enough things to trade with, they'd be able to get the coveted channel opening pill. Even though she is auctioning them off, the students felt their good feelings towards Bailey Hongzhuang increased by quite a bit. This was because Bailey Hongzhuang chose to have the auction within the school and didn't bring it to Azure Water City to auction off. Otherwise, with their resources they could never compete with those businessmen. It was precisely because of this point, no one could say that Bailey Hongzhuang placed more importance on benefit. She was also considerate towards the Azure Water School students. All of a sudden, the students of the Azure Water School all started to get busy. Due to this, the entire city square of the Azure Water City had also become unusually lively. Chapter 308. Everyone knew that the only things that would interest Bailey Hongzhuang were demonic beast cores, points and herbs. Gold coins were the most useless. Thus, everyone was collecting comparatively special materials, hoping to impress her. Meanwhile, some rumors about Bailey Hongzhuang and Dong Fangyu had also started to spread out. Even though Senior Dongfang treats everyone well, isn't he especially attentive towards Bailey Hongzhuang? I feel that perhaps Senior Dongfang likes Bailey Hongzhuang. Then what can I do? I've already liked Senior Dongfang for a long time. If Senior Dongfang really has someone he likes, then The female students all felt grief in their hearts. They only hoped that this wasn't true. After all, when the person you've liked for so long finds a person to stand by his side, they could no longer have those thoughts in their mind. Bailey Hongzhuang is so beautiful. Isn't it not surprising that Dong Fangyu likes her? Let alone Dong Fangyu, almost every guy would like her. It wasn't the least surprising that the male students would like her. No matter in what aspect, Bailey Hongzhuang was the undisputed prideful daughter of heaven. Though Lu Qingyue had the title of #1 beauty of the Azure Water School, they felt that the newly arrived junior Bailey appeared to be much more relatable to them. Bailey Hongzhuang had no knowledge towards the various remarks from the world outside. She only single-mindedly refined pills inside her house. Master, haven't you already refined 4 channel opening pills? Why are you still refining more? Little Black was bored stiff as it tugged at the fur on Little White's head. Once Master seriously does something, she is as stubborn as a bull. For example, refining pill. Master had been refining pills since she returned. It looks like she won't stop refining pills until she mentally exhausts herself. 3 pills were for the auction. 1 for her own use. 4 pills were already enough. Bang! When the lid lifted off the furnace, another channel opening pill was successfully refined. While Bailey Hongzhuang put the channel opening pill into the white porcelain bottle, she smilingly said, Senior Dongfang as well as Jiqing and the others are all my good friends. Every cultivator needs the channel opening pill. I'm also prepare a portion for them. Towards her real friends she had never been stingy. The grade of the channel opening pill wasn't high, but it had a significant effect on cultivators. All this time, Dongfang Yu and the others have all treated her well and helped her with many things that could not be repaid easily. The channel opening pill was undoubtedly the best choice. Hearing this, Little Black finally understood and then immediately approached Bailey Hongzhuang. Master, what do you think about Senior Dongfang? Bailey Hongzhuang slightly narrowed her phoenix eyes. Her gut told her that Little Black's question was not as simple as it sounded. What do you want to say? Little Black clasped its hands together. Master, even though I feel that Senior Dongfang isn't bad, I still stand firmly on Dibei Chen's side. Dongfang Yu had always been considerate towards Master and it could tell a few things from the vague atmosphere between them. However, it looked at Dibei Chen in a better light. Slap. Bailey Hongzhuang sent Little Black flying with a single slap. Little furballs don't have to think about such complicated questions. Little Black hit the wall and miserably rolled back. It sat quietly to the side, not daring to say a word. Little White sighed and looked helplessly at Little Black. I already said. Master likes Senior Dongfang. You just had to ignore me. You deserve to be beaten. Bailey Hongzhuang had just prepared to return to refining pill when she suddenly heard Little White's words. Her heart stilled for a moment before she smoothly sent Little White flying to the other side. Don't you two have too much free time on your hands? Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrow. It seems that I have to find something for your guys to do. Chapter 309. When those words left Bailey Hongzhuang's mouth, Little Black and Little White's expressions changed. Tacitly, both of them put their paws over their mouths and obediently sat on the bed, indicating that they won't speak again. Baisher proudly rubbed up against Bailey Hongzhuang and got a demonic beast crystal from her hand. As Baisher crunched on the crystal, it arrogantly looked at the two who were being punished. That little villain. Little Black said angrily. Don't just look at this Baisher's usual naturally slow-witted face. Baisher looked cute all day long, but in truth it is very smart. Baisher arrogantly stretched, twisted its fat butt and secretly thought, who told you guys to ignore the atmosphere? This time you guys are really unlucky. Little White gnashed its teeth. It always felt that if it doesn't beat someone up once in a while, its claws would itch. Little Black and Little White glanced at each other. It looks like they can't let Baisher, this little baby, continue to be so arrogant. The next day, Bailey Hongzhuang left the house only after she finished refining the channel opening pills. She slowly walked up to the 3rd floor. Bailey Hongzhuang knocked on Dongfang Yu's door but found that no one was there. Her ink-black bright phoenix eyes showed a trace of puzzlement. Could it be that Dongfang Yu was out? Just when Bailey Hongzhuang was contemplating this matter, the door behind her suddenly opened. You're looking for Dongfang? The words were slow and indifferent. Other than Gong Shaoqing, who else could this be? Bailey Hongzhuang turned around, slightly nodded and smiled charmingly. Since you're here, it's the same thing. Gong Shaoqing looked slightly puzzled. He opened the door and indicated to Bailey Hongzhuang to come inside. When Bailey Hongzhuang entered, she discovered that Dongfang Yu and Lu Qingyue were also there. She couldn't help but show a touch of surprise in her eyes. You were looking for me? Dongfang Yu stood up, a smile on his face as he looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang's beautiful face softened. So it happens that you're all here. I came to give something to you guys. It was Yin Yang pouch earlier and Cosmos pouch in the glossary? From her Cosmos pouch, Bailey Hongzhuang retrieved 3 white porcelain bottles. She handed one to each person. These channel opening pills should be helpful to you guys. Hearing these words, Dongfang Yu and the others looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in surprise. Channel opening pill. This was currently the most popular pull in the Azure Water School. Its value need not to be said. Bailey Hongzhuang actually gifted it to them? One shouldn't accept a reward without merit. We can't take these pills. Gong Xiaoqing said deeply. Channel opening pill. It held extreme attraction to all cultivators. They didn't know how the channel opening pills fell into Bailey Hongzhuang's hands, but they couldn't accept it for no reason. Chapter 310. Whether it was the lost vibrating needle technique or the lost channel opening pill, they were both extraordinary. Who on earth was Bailey Hongzhuang? Others may not know of the channel opening pill's significance, but as a pill master herself, she was very clear. To possess the pill formula for the channel opening pill is equivalent to possession an incomparably precious treasure. Each and every pill formula was extremely precious, not to mention that this was the kind of pill formula that everyone needed and was also lost long ago. Gong Xiaoqing stared hard at Bailey Hongzhuang. His eyes were like bright stars and filled with a surge of darkness. His heart could hardly stop shaking. Bailey Hongzhuang, how do you have so many channel opening pills? Amongst the 3, Dongfang Yu had the closest relationship with Bailey Hongzhuang. So naturally it was he who asked Bailey Hongzhuang at this moment. Lu Qinyue's gaze also fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. Her clear eyes held uncertainty and hesitation. Hongzhuang, you are a pill master? All along, she had thought that there was no possibility that Bailey Hongzhuang could cultivate martial arts, study medical skills along with learning refining skills at the same time. One person's concentration could not possibly be split 3 ways equally. However, whether it was Bailey Hongzhuang taking out so many returning chi pills at the Luoyin mountain range or taking out the channel opening pills now. If she was an ordinary cultivator, there was no way she'd be able to prepare so many pills. Even if one was abundantly wealthy, then he'd still wouldn't be able to buy so many channel opening pills, right? As a result, there was only one possibility left. Bailey Hongzhuang is a pill master. However, towards this conclusion, Lu Qinyue still felt that it was inconceivable. That's correct. I'm a pill master. She had a pleasant smile on her exquisite face. Bailey Hongzhuang would of course admit it. To her this wasn't a secret. Hearing these words, Dongfang Yu, Gong Xiaoqing and Lu Qinyue all turned their eyes to Bailey Hongzhuang at the same time. They had suspicions in their hearts about this. However, when Bailey Hongzhuang admitted it, inevitably their hearts still shook. Was this still a human? Your concentration is too abnormal. Lu Qinyue's usually gentle face was slightly stiff. Hongzhuang, this channel opening pill? It wasn't refined by you, right? Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Yes, it was refined by me. Gulp. Dongfang Yu swallowed a mouthful of saliva, looking at Bailey Hongzhuang as if he was looking at a monster. He found it hard to believe that a 15-year-old girl could have such high achievements in so many different areas. It was too heaven-defying. Gong Xiaoqing's usually stony face also had a trace of shock on it at this moment. With Bailey Hongzhuang's age, as long as she has true ability, she would be a genius with such achievements in either medical skills or pill refinement. And yet, Bailey Hongzhuang had achievements in all 3 areas that everyone would be envious of. You can imagine the shock they felt in their hearts. Lu Qinyue opened her mouth yet didn't know what she should say. The channel opening pill was a grade 2 pill. This meant that Bailey Hongzhuang was a rank 2 pill master. She had only just passed the rank 2 pill master exam at the Pill Master Association this year and was already considered a genius by many seniors. Compared to her, Bailey Hongzhuang was a year younger and yet had already reached the level of a rank 2 pill master. This 1 year didn't seem like a large gap, however the gap in talent wasn't slight. She was a genius, then what was Bailey Hongzhuang? She didn't dare to think about it. If Bailey Hongzhuang didn't research medical skills and concentrated solely on pill refinement, then what sort of achievement would she have now? For the first time, a proud daughter of heaven like her felt ashamed. Chapter 311. At that moment, Dongfang Yu no longer felt the burden he had before as he took the channel opening pill. The thing that pill masters did not lack was pills. As long as they had the herbs, they would be able to refine invaluable pills. Such a heaven-defying genius was actually ridiculed by everyone in the Imperial City as a waste. Are those people in the Imperial City blind? Dong Fengyu felt a sense of helplessness in his heart. If General Bailey knew the results Bailey Hongzhuang had today, he really wondered what the general would think. Hongzhuang, have you taken the Pill Master exam at the Pill Masters Guild? Lu Qingyue asked. Not yet. A beautiful smile blossomed on Bailey Hongzhuang's face. She had heard Jiqing talking about the Pill Masters Guild before and had also planned to go to the Pill Masters Guild to take the exam. However, she had not had the time to go recently. Lu Qingyue was even more confused. Her master told her before that there was a possibility that a strong power was backing Bailey Hongzhuang. No matter what angle you look at it from, Bailey Hongzhuang wasn't an ordinary person. So why hasn't she taken the Pill Masters Guild's exam yet? It provided great convenience to Pill Masters once they've joined the Pill Masters Guild. If you have time, why don't you go and take the exams at the Pill Masters Guild? Lu Qingyue smiled slightly. What benefits are there to passing the exam? Bailey Hongzhuang asked with beautiful eyes that clearly differentiate between black and white. After all, she had no interest in the status as a ranked Pill Master. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Lu Qingyue had doubts in her heart. Bailey Hongzhuang was definitely not ordinary. How could she not know anything about the Pill Masters Guild? The Pill Masters Guild has a really strong system. The Guild's Pill Masters have priority on many rare herbs, so it is of great convenience to us. Then what do you have to contribute in return? Bailey Hongzhuang arched her eyebrow. Since the Pill Masters Guild provided them with convenience in getting herbs, then accordingly they also had to fulfill certain obligations. The Pill Masters Guild doesn't have many rigid requirements. Only that when the guild needs a certain pill, you would help refine it and they would give you sufficient compensation. Her ink-black phoenix eyes held a trace of deep understanding. Bailey Hongzhuang immediately understood the meaning of the Pill Masters Guild's existence. Pill formulas are the most precious things each pill master owns. Thus, even though there are many pill masters, not every pill master would be able to refine a certain kind of pill. With the existence of the Pill Masters Guild, there was another channel to seek pills. The guild could directly ask a pill master that knew how to refine that pill, provide sufficient compensation and get the pill. As a result, pills would then have one more channel to circulate from. This was a win-win situation and pill masters aren't too restricted. Even if the guild asks a pill master to help, the pill master could refuse. However, most of the pill masters enjoy the benefits of the guild, they usually wouldn't refuse. I understand. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved into an elegant smile, a decision made in her heart. Since she is going to auction the channel opening pills at the school, it was best to get the recognition of the Pill Masters Guild. Even though she doesn't care, it would be great to render people unable to denounce it. After a few exchanges between the four, Bailey Hongzhuang left the special enrollment student dormitory and the Azure Water School to go to the Pill Masters Guild. Chapter 3:12. Apart from Bailey Hongzhuang, who else will be able to wear a white dress so elegantly as if she didn't belong on this earth? So as soon as Bailey Hongzhuang appeared, everyone recognized her. The crowd's voices were filled with curiosity and excitement. When everyone heard about the channel opening pills appearing on the auction, everybody knew that Bailey Hongzhuang still had even more channel opening pills. Nowadays a channel opening pill fetched a high price. But since Bailey Hongzhuang was only planning to auction off 3 channel opening pills to Principal Shui's cultivators, they didn't have any chance. Some of the merchants began to stir, wanting to get close to Bailey Hongzhuang. If Bailey Hongzhuang had more channel opening pills, it'd be a huge opportunity. Ah, Master, you've really become famous now. A trace of excitement flashed in Little Black's eyes. He seemed to see bags of gold flying towards them. Channel opening pills were very important to cultivators. It was something almost everybody needed. But since the pill had been lost, everybody could only endure without it. Almost every practitioner needs it. Before being lost, everyone can only endure. Now that it reappeared, even though it was only a second-grade pill, it was just wanted as a top-grade pill. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her lips into a shallow smile as her eyes surveyed the surroundings. Why not let them see it? At this moment, a pot-bellied middle-aged man walked next to Bailey Hongzhuang, his narrow eyes filled with a professional light. Miss Bailey, could I possibly negotiate a deal with you? His face had a big smile on it as he looked at Bailey Hongzhuang fawningly. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the man. As soon as he approached her, she had already guessed his intentions. I'm only planning to sell 3 of them for now, I don't plan to do anything else with the rest. The two blunt sentences showed Bailey Honghaung's attitude. Right now she was mainly focused on cultivating and wasn't all that interested in money. To her, the most important thing was to get points to cultivate in the cultivation pagoda. Money was only a way to improve her cultivation. She didn't intend to neglect the root and pursue the tip, neglect fundamentals and concentrate on details. The middle-aged man immediately understood what Bailey Honghaung meant and did not pressure her anymore, but instead laughed. "Miss Bailey, if there is ever a need, just contact me." The man told Bailey Honghaung that he will have left a shop in Azure Water City after he leaves and that his purpose had been achieved. The group of merchants saw that the middle-aged man left empty-handed, meaning Bailey Honghaung did not intend to sell any more pills and thus did not make a move. The Pill Masters Guild and the Mercenary Trade Union weren't too far away. Usually, many mercenaries would be in the mountains collecting herbs to sell to the Pill Masters Guild, especially the rare ones. Is not far away. On weekdays, many mercenaries will be in the mountains to collect herbs for the Association of Pharmacists, especially some precious medicinal herbs. The Pill Masters Guild was the richest organization on Xingshan continent, and every pharmacist is equal to a huge amount of treasures, and the price of selling medicinal herbs to the Pill Masters Guild was always fair. Chapter 313. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the tall and imposing building in front of her. The solemn and magnificent image of a pill furence was placed on top of glazed tiles that reflected bright rays of light. It exuded boundless nobility and pride. It was akin to the status pill masters in Xingshan continent had. The Pill Masters Guild wasn't as lively as the Military Engineer Union. With a kind of aura that was solemn and noble, not many people were inside, but the bystanders were all full of respect as they watched those that walked out from the entrance of the guild. So, the special position Pill Masters had in Xingshan continent could be seen. Standing in the middle of the Pill Masters Guild, Bailey Hongzhuang sized up her surroundings. The interior of the Pill Masters Guild appeared to be a slightly oppressing black space, filled with a solemn atmosphere. You can't help but be infected with this atmosphere the moment you walk in, becoming completely meticulous and serious. The Pill Masters Guild's front desk was straight ahead. It was a huge and long black table facing the door. A gentle lady was standing right in front of it, paying attention to each and every person entering the guild. The guild was quite spacious. It's just that there were so few people inside, so it felt very empty. Inside the guild, a few people wearing black robes walked past. These were the Pill Master robes that represented glory. If you wore this robe, you would receive respect from countless people when you walk into a crowd. Every Pill Master treated this robe as a precious treasure that signified glory. However, most of the Pill Masters wearing these robes were middle-aged. This was because it was very difficult to become a Pill Master. Specifically, the time and concentration you needed to spend isn't little at all. Thus, by the time you've gained a certain degree of achievement, you would already be quite old. Lu Qingyue was well deserved of the title of Genius Pill Master, becoming a rank 2 Pill Master at such a young age. Even in Xingshan continent, there weren't many that could achieve such a thing. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly walked up to the front desk. The lady at the front desk gave a polite smile as she saw Bailey Hongzhuang come over. "Young lady, are you here to sell herbs or to buy pills?" When young cultivators came to the Pill Masters Guild, they were basically here for only one of two reasons. Thus the receptionist directly asked this question. Bailey Hongzhuang slightly curved her lips, a smile of peerless beauty on her face, and said with a gently and harmonious voice, "I'm here to take the Pill Master exam." Hearing this, the receptionist sent a doubtful look at Bailey Hongzhuang, as if not daring to believe Bailey Hongzhuang's words. "Young lady, you're here to take the Pill Master exam?" The receptionist asked unbelievingly. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded and said with certainty, "That's correct." Seeing how Bailey Hongzhuang replied so affirmatively, the receptionist was somewhat shocked. Though she quickly regained her composure and said, "To take the Pill Master exam, you have to go to the second floor. You'll have to pay 1,000 gold coins to get the exam token before you can participate in the exam." 1,000 gold coins. To ordinary commoners this was a huge figure. However, to Pill Masters this was not a daunting figure. The reason why Pill Masters needed to pay 1,000 gold coins is to prevent some people from causing trouble. After all, a Pill Master needs to oversee the examinees during the exam. At that moment, a young girl around Bailey Hongzhuang's age walked over. The girl was wearing a goose yellow dress. Her complexion was clean, fair and smooth. She had a mesmerizing palm-sized oval face, but her eyes were full of arrogance. Her gaze shifted to the side. No matter if it was her gaze or her demeanor, everything exuded a strong arrogance. It was as if ordinary people were simply beneath her notice. "I want to take the Pill Master exam." The girl said these words and directly placed 1,000 gold coins on the front desk, waiting for the receptionist to hand her an exam token. Chapter 314 Miss Wei. The attendant immediately bowed before immediately handing her an identification token. She clearly recognized Wei Meidai. "Since there's 2 girls wanting to take the exam, I'll immediately notify the masters." The attendant smiled. Hearing her words, Wei Meidai raised an eyebrow as she turned to look at Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned slightly. Wei Meidai's gaze was filled with disdain and provocation, as if she was some high and mighty person looking at a petty and low commoner. It was like the other person didn't exist, and giving her a glance was already a great favor. She had seen many arrogant people like Bailey Yuyan and Shenyuan Huan, but this was still the first time she saw somebody like Wei Meidai. She was somebody capable of making others feel disgust and loathing at first glance. "Who's your master?" Wei Meidai's eyes flickered with contempt. There weren't a lot of young pill masters in Azure Water City, so not many dared to take the exam. She was very familiar with the Pill Masters Guild, and this was the first time she saw such a woman. That woman ought to just be some random no-name Pill Master's disciple, thinking she was so amazing just because she understood a little piece and wanting to take the exam believing it was easy. Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at Wei Meidai indifferently before turning her eyes back to the front, not bothering to reply to her. Unreasonable people will never get the respect of others. Wei Meidai saw how Bailey Hongzhuang only glanced at her and didn't reply. Her beautiful face immediately turned angry. This useless no-name cultivator without any backing actually dared to refuse her face? "Hey, I'm talking to you." Wei Meidai raised her voice, looking at Bailey Hongzhuang irritatedly. "Do I have to reply just because you're talking to me?" Bailey Hongzhuang spoke lightly. Wei Meidai's shout had already caused everyone in the guild to look over. The Pill Masters Guild was always quiet, but Wei Meidai's words completely wrecked the silence. Everyone frowned as they turned to look at her, but immediately understood when they saw who it was. Obviously, since Wei Meidai knew the Pill Masters Guild well, the people in the guild were also familiar with her as well. Wei Meidai ignored the stares as she glared at Bailey Hongzhuang. "Do you know who I am?" In the entire Pill Masters Guild, she didn't care about anyone but Lu Qingyue. Nobody in their generation dared disrespect her, but this woman actually dared to treat her so. There was no way she was letting her off. "Not interested." Bailey Hongzhuang's voice was lazy and uncaring, treating Wei Meidai as no more than an annoying fly, not worthy of her attention. Wei Meidai's face quickly turned red. She should have had the upper hand with Bailey Hongzhuang, but instead got suppressed. Every sentence she spoke was blocked, leaving her feeling choked. "You." Wei Meidai's chest rose up and down, filled with anger. Before, if she said something, nobody else would dare to talk back. Today was the first time she encountered such a person. "Do you know the consequences of offending me?" Wei Meidai narrowed her eyes, her ink-black almond-shaped eyes glittering with malice. This woman dared to let her lose face in front of so many people. Truly hateful. Bailey Hongzhuang raised a brow, a provocative smile on her delicate face. "Do you want to get beaten up?" Chapter 315 Wei Meidai was stunned. Obviously it was her threatening Bailey Hongzhuang, so how'd it turn into Bailey Hongzhuang threatening her? When the bystanders saw this, their faces looked as if they were excited to watch a good show. They always see Wei Meidai bullying others, but for the first time, somebody was actually bullying her. "I see that you need a beating." Bailey Hongzhuang's words completely exploded Wei Meidai's anger. You could only see Wei Meidai's face turn a bright red as her eyes filled with fury, a slap ruthlessly flying towards Bailey Hongzhuang. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes turned cold. Her right hand moved like lightning as she grabbed the incoming hand, slapping Wei Meidai with her other one. "Pa!" There was a clear sound, especially distinct in the Pill Masters Guild's quiet silence. Time seemed to freeze for a split second as the surrounding people widened their eyes. They didn't dare to believe that the one to get slapped was actually Wei Meidai. Who is this young lady? Daring to slap Wei Meidai? I have never seen her before. Not only is her appearance outstanding, her bearing is also out of the ordinary. She's probably not a simple person. Didn't you guys hear about that girl who had the channel opening pills, Bailey Honghang? A white dress and a refined, elegant beauty. This person looks a lot like her. Once Bailey Honghang's name was mentioned, everybody suddenly understood. The people in the Pill Masters Guild weren't interested in cultivators, they only cared about concocting pills. Thus, they knew nothing about Azure Water School's new talents. But since Bailey Honghang had the channel opening pill, she was well known in the Pill Masters Guild. But none of them thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would be so young. Your words are right, this miss probably is Bailey Honghang. Now knowing Bailey Honghang's identity, the crowd's eyes turned even more excited to watch the show. It seemed that it'll be a very interesting scene. Wei Meidai was still in a daze, her right hand bursting with pain. Underneath the burning pain, there was great humiliation. She had lived arrogantly for many years and it was always her beating others. She had never ever been slapped. But this woman actually dared to beat her? Wei Meidai's eyes immediately turned insane. The curious gazes staring at her only served to further enrage her. I'll kill you. Wei Meidai was extremely furious. Her figure flickered as she charged at Bailey Honghang. Wei Meidai's hand was stretched forward. Bailey Honghang knew right away that her cultivation was extremely weak since she had always focused on creating pills and wasn't a threat at all. She was simply incapable of bringing her harm. Bang! Bailey Hongzhuang directly grabbed Wei Meidai's hand with both hands and pushed her against the table below her. An enchanting smile broke out on her beautiful face, but the light in her eyes was as sharp as a knife. Everything was as fast as lightning, her voice chillingly cold. Mark my words and don't disturb me anymore. Otherwise I'll teach you what regret truly means. Wei Meidai was stunned, terror on her delicate face as stared at Bailey Honghang. Her whole body felt ice cold. Seeing the fear and nervousness in Wei Meidai's eyes, Bailey Honghang released her hand, her face indifferent as she stepped away. She usually avoided looking for trouble but at the same time she was also never afraid of it. Chapter 316 Wei Meidai rubbed her hand in pain. The strength Bailey Honghang had put in earlier really wasn't light. Her wrist had already turned a deep purple color. Her dark eyes twinkled with resentment. Wei Meidai truly hated Bailey Honghang. She had never lost so much face. But Bailey Honghang's strength made her fearful. She didn't dare to be rash, otherwise she was afraid that Bailey Honghang really would hurt her. I'll let you off for now but this debt, I'll definitely pay back 100-fold. Wei Meidai swore in her heart. The attendant walked over towards them very quickly. She could keenly sense something had happened after she left. Wei Meidai was no longer as haughty as before. I've already informed the examination masters. You two can go to the second floor. The attendant said smilingly. Bailey Honghang turned to go to the second floor. Everybody watched as Bailey Honghang and Wei Meidai walked away, immediately understanding why Bailey Hongzhuang had come to the Pill Masters Guild. Interest suddenly appeared in their eyes. In all of Azure Water City, only 3 youths had come to take the Pill Masters examination, Lu Qingyue, Wei Meidai and now finally Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Honghang had just gotten on the second floor when she saw 3 bold words not so far away, examination hall. Wei Meidai walked in front of Bailey Honghang. Her familiar action seemed to be her telling Bailey Honghang that her identity in the Pill Masters Guild wasn't ordinary. What a pity, as Bailey Hongzhuang wasn't the slightest bit interested. When Bailey Honghang and Wei Meidai entered the examination hall, a middle-aged man was already standing there waiting for them. The man was wearing black Pill Master robes. 2 brightly glinting stars were pinned on it, representing his status as a rank 2 Pill Master. Teacher Tong. Wei Meidai smiled as she called his name. Tong Qingyuan nodded slightly. Wei girl, today marks your 3rd time participating in the Pill Master examination. I'll definitely succeed this time. Wei Meidai's eyes shone brightly, a firm light in her eyes. This time she had really trained hard. She was sure that she'd be able to pass. Seeing Wei Meidai's confidence, Tong Qingyuan smiled affectionately. Your master didn't come today? Master said he'd come a bit later. Tong Qingyuan's gaze landed on Bailey Hongzhuang. Has this girl also come to take the 1st grade Pill Master's examination? Nope. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head. Wei Meidai looked at Bailey Hongzhuang startled. She had clearly heard the waiter say Bailey Honghang was also taking the Pill Master's examination. Wei Meidai was speechless. Could she have made a mistake? In that case, why did she come here to the examination hall? Tong Qingyuan was also confused. You really didn't know what this girl came here for then. But Bailey Hong's next words made Tong Qingyuan and Wei Meidai turn stunned. I came here to take the second-grade pill master examination. Wei Meidai's gentle face couldn't help but turn astonished. Bailey Hongzhuang looked to only be 15 or 16, but she said that she actually wanted to take the rank 2 pill master exam? Wei Meidai was stunned for another moment before bursting out into loud laughter. Haha, what a joke. You actually think you can take the second-grade pill master examination? You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.